thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from last meeting. Everybody have a chance to look at those, or if not, I did.
I was able to find them online and I was blown away. Who did them? Wow, they're great. And,
Yeah,
and I just Googled it from scratch.
Really?
Bingo.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, I had to I did have to click something else to get there.
Well, that's good. So we've got, we're like part of this civilization now. You can
I
Google
think
us. and
so. We're there.
That's either good and or not good, but in this case, it's good. Okay, excellent. They look fine to me. No objections? We approved the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, good. Moving right along, we have, Allison's not here, so we have like a.
Is she coming later or is she just
I
like?
have no idea. We have updates from our friend and Mr. Notoriety.
Oh, me?
Yes,
The
sir.
famous one?
So we're just projects we're working on right now. We're doing steamboat landing boat ramp.
I saw that. I went down there and looked.
That's gonna look pretty good once we're done. We're gonna be kind of just fixing the lake beach erosion a little bit, kind of trying to fix that temporarily.
You're gonna leave that staircase the way it is? That'll,
No, that's gonna come out because it just keeps on failing.
and the
We're gonna leave the
metal,
metal one there.
yeah, the metal one will be the staircase.
Yes.
That's actually excellent.
Yeah, there's no sense in
Wally.
trying to fix that because it just keeps on, keeps just falling. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
The Molyneux sewer line, for the park, just kickoff meeting was yesterday. So we're getting ready to do that. We just did a stormwater line behind Hardin Ave and McGonagall Street.
Right.
Yeah, that's all done.
Which is most of the water from Gunnaker Street in London Street.
Yeah, there's a ton of water that cuts across and it goes in, cuts underneath Hardin and goes into the Daily Brook over there.
Yeah, our yard is still,
I think we went over by your house and fixed the side of the shoulder there.
last year, but
Trim Street,
it's
Trim and,
Spring and
Spring.
Mechanic, or Spring and Mountain.
so
The light blue
we
house.
fixed at the end of
Last
Spring-
year you did.
Trim Street. Maybe it's a different spot where you are. I thought it was where you were.
No, so we're on the corner of Spring and Mountain,
Oh, this is Trim and,
and it gets the water that you're talking
McGonagall, I
about
think
coming
is what it
down.
is. It was the same thing. I thought it was yours, so we'll check that one out after. But we're kind of wrapped up right now with that boat ramp.
Yeah,
So you guys are doing all of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a big project.
Are those big thicker ones going on top of the ones that were already there?
No, so we gotta take those out. You gotta put down like rails to kind of screed everything and then you put those
Okay.
down on the rails. Those are 6,000 pounds a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. There's, I think 20 something of them.
It actually, all that stuff around the area is gonna be new.
Well, we're gonna fix all the rock around it and the access to get down and there's gonna be new floats. It's gonna look nice when we're done.
It'll be really appreciated.
You think so?
Oh, God, yeah.
It gets heavily used.
It was in pretty rough shape.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't even use it with my car.
So we had to,
My XC90.
I contacted a company, I contacted a town out of Massachusetts, Nahant.
Yeah.
And they had a similar problem. And that was where I got the idea of those bigger treads. And they actually had them made here in Maine. So I just contacted the guy, American Concrete in Maine, and I got that design and that's what we ended up putting there. So
It's awesome. And the Rossinapp
Ridge, that's still,
it looks,
that should be done somewhere around July.
So is the state doing all that work or are we doing
The
the?
state did the removal and putting it the way it is now. We're doing the installation. And we're in the process of doing that right now. So it's just gonna be a footbridge crossing that right there.
yeah, good.
And then we've got the area prepped out for the 20th.
Yep, we're going to talk about that.
So that's all prepped out. The hole's dug. I still gotta pick the tree up.
Can I ask have any other trees been planned yet?
Nope. No, I think the best thing to do is, I'm not gonna order a bunch of stuff. To me, it's just easier to go out and buy as you need them,
Yeah,
instead of trying to keep them and do all that stuff. And then And then the other thing, what happens, I think if you order them and then you ask them to take care of them for you, they don't get taken care of like the other ones. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, those are for Camden. We're not going to bother with those. And then they, no, that's what I found the last time around. They're all falling over.
That's quite an allegation.
But the ones they want to sell, they make sure they take care of because they don't want them to get damaged until they're sold, right?
Then they can get damaged.
But you see what I did notice that was what was going
This
on.
is real.
So I just want to pick the good ones as we plant them, and then we don't end up with a bad tree. You know what I mean?
Plants unlimited?
I used our place across the street, the
Guinea
Guinea
Ridge.
Ridge.
Oh, yeah, right.
Both
So-
of them.
You said the
Do they still-
20th.
do the
I
Guinea
thought it
Ridge
was the
do we give a
23rd,
break?
no?
The 23rd is
Guinea
Arbor
Ridge.
Day celebration in Augusta. at the
Oh,
House
shoot.
Auditorium.
So
The 20th
ours,
is ours at the library. And we're going to talk about both those.
Then I also buy them from Home Depot.
Okay, can I ask, can you put?
I'm serious. If they're good and they're on sale, I buy them.
They have some,
I mean,
they have good things.
Yeah, they
I'm-
do.
I'm not judging, I'm just,
Some of the nicest red maples I bought were at Home Depot.
Can I ask if next in line after all that stuff is that we put 3 trees at the public landing?
Right. You know what we should do is when you're bored and have nothing going on, you can call me up and we can go look up at what trees you want and just pick them out and buy them.
Okay.
There's also, this is the garden club plan, right? But
No,
there's a lot of re-vegetating that was supposed to happen after one of the tree cutting incidents by the Bell.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there money in it?
well,
the
there were
cut-
supposed to be trees that were, there were trees that were
cut down.
cut down on there. And
Near the edge of the,
Yeah, I know.
now, is the garden club going to replace those?
Townsend put the trees in, we're gonna put bushes in, and then do fixing up.
But it's going to include that.
So what
Wait,
I
no,
know about
I
what
don't
tree
mean-
cutting was, so last winter, like November, I think it was, Dave had some guys who helped us take out some of these invasive trees, bushes that were,
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about that area. I'm
Yeah.
talking about right next to the river.
I
I can show you what it looked like before, but
that would be great.
Watering
But
person.
no, we're talking about the
I
I
areas.
don't know what we're gonna do then.
Yes.
Well, we need to
We're
talk
gonna
about it.
use.
I know, we can't
Water
talk about it, we can't
for
see
the
it.
Try and
trees
make
that
it
we
Well, I
plant,
think we
yeah.
need to talk about.
And then.
what
the
it is.
I just wondered,
put in some
One
bushes.
year you had a
I
designated
assume
person.
everybody's ready.
I had a kid, but he's not
But,
there
I
this
don't
year.
have the capacity to print all this
Okay.
stuff up.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna promote.
I thought the
Steve.
town printed stuff for a meeting.
It's a
Yes.
terrible
I don't know.
job.
printing
No,
is
No, no,
possible.
I mean, I
That's
thought of you, but we have we have
You
some
asked about-
people that want.
Might be
Probably
like
it's really hard because there are all these conversations going on, but I did hear you just
Yeah.
say something about
This-
printing,
It takes 2 people.
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, each time.
and I'm happy to make a comment that.
All right. So,
I have a question here.
Yeah.
The pieces that you're taking off the boat ramp over here, the old ones, so you
Mhm.
got any use for those anyplace else, any place to?
So I'm keeping the good ones.
Yeah.
And there'll be things that we use them for, but.
I don't know what the lake ones are like. I haven't been to them.
Well, that's what Brian Robinson made a point of like the boat ramp that we have doesn't go down far enough and we could put those I mean, you can't just do this stuff. You got to get permits and stuff. But,
yeah,
but I am keeping the better ones in case we can use it for something else.
good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Ellison, any updates from the select board?
I don't want to take too much time. I did hear a question about printing. Was there some thought that maybe, I think you said something about not having the resources to print something? Was that a,
Well, I printed out copies of the Poetry Day thing, but I normally wouldn't print things out and hand them out at the meeting. I assume people do their own
it was just
stuff.
about the meeting. I thought maybe it was something for printing that you wanted for the event or for anything else. That I just meaning to say that the Conservation Commission shouldn't be shy about asking for the town to do that.
Okay,
Because
Yeah, 'cause-
other entities,
right.
like the Curtis Island Foundation, does a lot, all their printing, I think, at the town office. So
I
if you've got good stuff to share.
This
then-
stemmed from my question about whether he had brought the letter that we were drafting to send to the select board, because I would just assumed that was part of how a town committee would work with
Okay,
that
I misunderstood.
materials. Yeah, but I guess this one works that we all just print our own, the things that are relevant to the meeting.
I mean, unless we decide we want to do it differently, the way we've always operated is if
Yeah,
there's something
okay.
you want to either view it on your computer or print it out yourself and bring it, you read it offline. I don't know.
And
I
then
mean,
print it to bring it.
yeah,
Okay.
right. That's what I always do, but it doesn't necessarily, it's just not necessarily the right thing to do. It's just the way
No,
that.
yeah,
um,
In
in-
sorry,
terms
I just.
of anything
That's all
else
right.
from the select board or the town in terms of, are you guys reviewing a letter today?
It's
Okay.
on the,
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
We can review, we're going to talk about our position on the Sagamore Farm solar letter, right?
Right.
And that's on the agenda.
Oh, I didn't realize we were ready for that. Okay.
But-
Well, no, we're not.
I'll-
It's
I'll talk, I'll
not,
save my piece when we get to that
yeah,
moment.
good. It's on the agenda. It's the next to the last thing.
Okay.
I forgot one thing. So.
Sure.
I ran into a company that does the inoculation for the emerald ash borer.
Yep.
And I talked to them about the app and what we're doing with all of that. And we can actually if we want, and we want to think about possibly being preemptive with the treatment,
Yep.
and that we can build the app to include the treatment so that, their technician can go out and when we have the inventory, we can say the age
Right.
and then it can also be like, it was inoculated on this day.
Right.
And this was the amount, and, so Shane Hendrickson's the one that I talked to about it from Tree Works.
Excellent, excellent.
And he says he's going to give the town the best deal we'd ever seen.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
So this is we can weave it right into our whole emerald ash inventory.
Yeah, did you tell them that you approved the expense for the,
Oh,
so they are taking all of Louisa's emerald or ash tree inventory from before, and they have all that data, and they're
Right.
in the process of putting it into our app now, and, all of that's been approved, so we'll have that, and,
That's excellent.
Shane was
which is great, because he knows how to use, he'll be able to use the app.
Soon, because the
Yes.
leaves are just leaving up, and this is the time we're gonna be making.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he can start this
Well,
now.
I'm not saying this
Yeah.
minute, but
But I mean, I was thinking about having him come in and talk about it if you guys
That would be
want to
great.
do that.
It
That'd
might
be
be a good
great.
idea to send the select board a letter reminding the select board about the seriousness of the emerald ash borer. None of the people that were on the, select board when the Conservation Commission took this up before are on there now. And so to remind everyone, okay, this is about what the expense is expected to be per tree. This is what's happening in other communities. Just a heads up,
That's a
big
good
expense
idea.
coming up.
So,
Maybe a letter to the select board that says that this is something we want to do.
yeah.
Don't
so-
forget that we need money for this.
Yeah, because if we don't do that,
So as far, I'm happy to write a letter. I'll draft a letter. And then, and that's right in line with what our objectives for the year. So it's perfect.
and I think
And
that they
then-
just found the emerald ash borer is really close to here. I can't remember there's a town right outside.
Bar Harbor.
Bar Harbor, Bar Harbor
yeah.
was the last
Some people
one.
have started treating their trees here. I talked to somebody
Yep.
that has an ash tree over on C Street.
The huge
um,
one,
Yes.
that tree is
And they,
amazing.
yes,
It's like 400 years old.
yeah.
So, all right, and then I'll need probably some information from the tree guy, like what the
Shane.
cost per Shane, I don't know who he is or anything.
Shane Hendricks, maybe you could even call Shane and,
I was thinking about maybe getting him over here right now if he's available.
We have a
That might
pretty
be
packed
disruptive.
agenda.
Okay.
I mean,
we
for
won't do
today,
that then. Yeah,
be great to have him come and join us, but
let's just plan for the next
they've got a
meeting.
lot to talk about.
good idea. And then I'll draft a letter, send it around, okay? That's
He
a
was
great-
excited about this because he wants to, he liked the whole app thing. He liked the fact of
Good,
yeah, so I think it's a good marriage.
good, perfect, excellent. Anything else?
We need to,
Okay, so let me write that down.
Tree Works.
Tree Works.
Tree Works.
Do you have anything
What's his
to do
name
with all
again?
that Stuff going on
Shane?
on the road.
Shane Hendricks.
Okay.
What a mess that is.
Oh, good.
Water company.
Got it.
Oh.
Okay, so next thing on the agenda is to go through this Poetry Day celebration. Like, I made copies of this. I made 7 copies, so I can hand them out. I can just read one on my computer. There's 7 copies, 8 copies there, I think. If you want to, if there's not enough, you're gonna have to share.
I have a copy.
Okay, good. Kathleen's got a copy.
I have
So-
these posters.
Before we get started with this, I'd like to thank Kathleen and Sam for doing an incredible job on this. Orchestrating this, it's great. I mean,
You guys should have a business doing this stuff. You guys are really good.
It's,
not a volunteer business.
You should do this on
now
the side.
Sam is she does this for a living, I think.
Yeah, oh, is
She's
this-
a
is someone-
professional planner, right?
I have e-copies of all this stuff. So,
I can pass it down.
what, you guys okay
looks wonderful.
if we go,
This looks so good.
Man,
Thank you.
yeah.
that's really nice.
That was done by the library, the poster.
Really?
which
Now,
is-
is
Well,
the
somebody did a
library
job.
distributing that, Kathleen?
Sam and I went and tried to put them, we're all over the place, so.
That's great.
And actually, if you can figure out another place to put these, because the competition's fierce.
Yeah.
If you
Really?
Yeah, like the Rennie's bulletin.
Oh,
board.
you mean for a space?
Yeah, for a space. It's,
There-
anyway, it's, there's just a lot going on.
You just
but
go like this.
Yeah, if
I
it was,
thought of it.
if it was Boston, you just put it over somebody else's, right?
Right.
But
Put it in the window
that's
of the town
obviously
office.
And,
not.
and
Did
Sam
you
has
get one of
also
these,
put
Pete?
articles in the newspaper as well. So, and it's on the library website, so,
Awesome, good. It's really, they're gonna be, we'll pray for good weather, that's for
yes.
sure.
If it's not good weather, we're gonna have it inside the library.
Are we hauling that over there for the event?
I was gonna ask about that. I really think we should.
We
Hello?
should.
I have some,
What?
I have pictures of it when it was,
That
when
would
it was
be
a
a good
tree.
idea.
Tree.
Yeah,
We think it should be at the poetry event.
that was gonna be something I asked if we could do
People could
too.
get their picture taken in front of it. you know, like
That's a good,
Photoshop
yeah,
it.
that's a great idea.
I was thinking I wrote an article about that tree too. At the time, I could print that off and have it next to there with pictures of what the
Yeah,
tree looks
that
like
would-
alive. And
Could be
people
next
would
to the
love to be
dog.
able to see that, I think.
I think so too.
So is
Oh, I'm
it,
so glad.
what would be the best way to do this? Just Sam asked me and Molly as well, because she's been
Well,
involved with.
what
aspects of
I'd
this.
like to do is go through the whole thing
Okay,
in like gory detail.
okay.
If you wanted, you want to do it?
No, you do it.
But
Okay.
can I say one thing? You guys did an amazing job. This is way, way more than we've ever done before. And way more involved. So it's just, I'm just gonna say that to start out. So,
Oh,
I
thanks.
mean, in the past, we've had like 6 people who plant a tree.
Right.
so, You know,
Yeah, it was
Which is
pretty
not-
casual,
yeah, so.
you know.
It got amped up.
So
Just
how
FYI.
much of that is the library being involved? I mean, or
They're
was,
pretty involved. I mean, I think when I talked to Julia, she just would love the idea.
yeah,
And actually, in the agenda, you can see that the librarian's son came in when we were meeting and came up with the title.
perfect.
He said, call it Poetry.
Yeah, it's
He's like
great.
8 years old,
Yeah.
so.
Really?
Oh, Christie's son, like the executive director's
Yeah,
son?
James, I think his
Yeah.
name is.
That's great. So so the venue's it's gonna be at the library, hopefully at Harbor Park, right?
Yes,
If it's good weather. If it's not, we're gonna do the Pickering Room or something.
yes, that
that
we have
right?
that reserved if it's not
Okay,
good.
and then the location, I don't know where the tree is actually gonna be planted.
It's
on the
right on the
corner.
corner of.
Where the Civil War soldier?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
That's all that sawhorses and plywood. I think it's all been cut
Yeah,
out.
there's a
Oh,
big
that's
already
why
done,
the
yeah.
sawhorses are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's for the tree.
Oh.
I'm the
I walked
liaison
by
to the
there.
library
Now
board of
dawn
trustees, and they were
strikes on
asking, they were like,
Marblehead.
does anybody know why there's a hole in the sidewalk? And I was like, because you guys
So-
are sponsoring an event. And,
Yeah.
We're, are we going to
Well, why is it gonna be pre-planted? The point is we're planting a tree.
Well, I think it's because we basically scheduled an hour, a little over an hour for
Yeah.
this. So we thought that,
Should some of that be planting the tree?
yes,
Right
but
before.
that could be like, if somebody was actually digging the hole and doing all of
No,
that,
but the
that,
whole digging, so we just put it in. there.
yes, they put it in, right? But as long as it takes about 10 to 15 minutes and not like a half an hour.
Yeah, we
No,
need
the-
Dave,
the-
we
the-
should,
The long-term thing is digging it. It's
Right,
been done.
right.
But planting it is just putting
Right.
it in there.
Yeah, I think that's
So
what,
I
I
think
think
that
that's
should
what
be-
Sam meant by it
So,
would be
yeah.
all ready to go and then we're just gonna
Okay.
throw some. dirt.
Anyway, tree
people
will
are
be
gonna-
pre-excavated,
People-
period.
It'll be pre-excavated but not pre-planted.
Yeah.
Right,
in the tree, yeah, that's what we did last year, right? Like that.
Right, yeah.
The tree will
Yeah.
be there, ready to plop in the hole,
right,
backfill with dirt and
right. It's
whatever.
ceremonial.
I guess I'm
almost, right?
supposed to call it soil, not dirt.
No, it's not dirt.
No, I know
I
better.
took soils 101, and that's the first thing Dr. Structermeyer told me. It's not dirt, it's soil.
All right, yeah, okay. So the ceremony is going to occur though in Harbor Park, right?
Yes, we're gonna go up that ramp that's right by the statue.
Yep,
So we
up
need,
that sidewalk.
yes, after we plant the tree,
Yep,
then we go up the ramp and then we'll have chairs and a table and
up at the top of the
up at the
hill.
top of the hill.
How many
Okay.
chairs are they thinking?
Now,
I think, the library's gonna help us set up the chairs, so we can get like 30
Really?
if we want that many.
I don't think so.
No, I was
I
gonna
think,
say like
Char-
20.
I think that there,
Could be.
I know that you haven't seen it, there, a few years back, they did one of these at the amphitheater. When, I forget what the occasion was, but Nancy Cottle Johnson, it was an anniversary of something, so it was done in a little bit bigger way. And there were more people and
Well, I
if
just
the
don't-
library,
I just
the
think
library
it's
being
better
involved
that-
makes it, like, they know, they do all their weddings and stuff, they do events, they have chairs. So, I mean,
But
I think
just
it's great
it'd
if
be better
they,
to have chairs filled and people standing around and have a bunch of empty chairs.
Well, we'll put up what, like 15? maybe?
yeah. that's
And
good,
those
though.
benches are up there anyway, too.
it's hard to bring chairs at the last minute too. And sometimes the more chairs, people are just naturally walking around there this time of year too, and they might,
Yeah.
I don't
I think
think
it's
anybody
great.
will be
The
embarrassed.
reason we had it up there is because it's way too noisy to have it closer to
Yeah,
the
I think you're
tree.
right. So people will arrive,
Yes,
be hanging around the tree.
yes,
We'll plant the tree.
right.
Then we'll go up the staircase, up the, what you call it, the staircase to the
Right.
top. We're gonna,
Ramp, I guess.
yep, and then that's where the ceremony will occur, right?
Yes.
I know I'm going through this and.
No, this is good.
This
It's
is
like
my,
the dress
Will the
rehearsal.
street be closed?
No,
Oh, gosh, because that tree's planted right. They'll be.
They'll have to slow
cars
down because
cutting right
people will be
through.
there.
Okay.
All right, and then we're gonna give I'm gonna give an introduction.
Right,
All right, I, just so you know, my introduction will be very short,
good.
but I'm
That's
going to
good.
give a quick overview on just to kind of tie it into the tree thing,
Right,
the significance of the ash tree and the indigenous people in Maine and a little history on the brown ash, black ash. I'm not going to get carried away,
okay.
but just to kind of put it in perspective, right? And then our friend Allison's going to you're going to read the proclamation. Did you have a copy of the proclamation?
I certainly could by the time of.
Yeah, I think Samantha has prepared it.
It's right in the.
Wait, so, but you skipped over all the stuff after your opening remarks,
Yeah,
that it precedes Allison's proclamation.
these were just some ideas to put in the.
Somebody is going to say
that-
Tree City status is granted, is that right? To
I think that's
communities?
the proclamation, isn't it?
Oh, that
Yeah, I
is the
think that's the
proclamation.
proclamation.
That,
Um,
well, why is the Brown Ash survey in
Well, that's where,
between that?
These are all things that Brian are going to say.
yeah,
include
this
in
is
his
going to be
speech.
part of my intro, right? I'll thank the library, thank Kathleen, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I see.
Oh, those are just notes on
Those are like
your.
bullets.
Right?
Oh,
Things to-
that makes
things-
okay.
Things to mention.
So you're going to say street,
Yeah, I'll give the introduction,
That is-
right? And keep it short. It's only going to be like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'll introduce Allison. And I'm not going to read a poem. I'm just going to do my thing, right?
So then Allison reads the thing about Tree City status? Is that what the
Yes,
proclamation
because
is?
I think
Well-
you have
I'll
to
put a
legally
little-
do that too, right?
Mhm.
For the
Or-
Yeah, there's
Arbor
a
Day
yeah.
Foundation. Yeah,
Okay.
and also, it is a big deal that Camden has that Tree City status too. I don't think a lot of people know about that. So,
Yeah, no, it's worth saying. I was just trying to clarify what
Yeah.
this,
I forget exactly what's in the proclamation. It's not that it's the reading of the proclamation is part of the requirements for maintaining our Tree City.
oh,
Status.
okay. That makes sense.
I forget whether the proclamation itself mentions Tree City, but
Well, did you get one? You have one of these?
I
Is that-
was there.
All right.
Oh,
I'm
is it
going
in here too?
It's
I'm
the- on the
going
front,
to,
first
Nancy gave us a
page.
binder too.
we got,
First page.
we got time. I'm going to read the proclamation right now, okay? So we'll all know what's on it. If I can read it.
I can read it if you want.
Hang on. Do you have a copy of it?
Is this it?
No.
Oh.
Okay, Town
that's
of
right.
Camden proclamation, whereas it is the purpose of the designation of Arbor Day throughout the nation to encourage the planting of shade and forest trees. By the way, I haven't read this before, so I'm going to stumble a little bit. To encourage the harvesting of our forest crops by approved conservation methods, and to encourage the protection of our forests from the scourge of devastating fires, insects, and diseases that destroy the beauty and usefulness of our woodlands as well as their wildlife. And whereas, through the cooperation of all residents of the town of Camden, the beneficial effects of street tree plantings and also of forested tree plantings combined with proper conservation practices, we can, on an enduring heritage of a vital natural research source to succeeding generations, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Select Board of the Town of Camden, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 as Arbor Day in Camden, and urge all residents to observe this day by planting trees and participating in the programs that the sponsors of Arbor Day may provide.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is separate from a summary of how you become a treaty city.
Mhm.
yes, yeah.
All
That's,
right.
that's
So
you're
you-
legally required to read that.
The
Right, this is, I
proclamation.
think, what we did was just add this for some information about the program.
All right.
And in hindsight, next year, it would be good to make sure this isn't just a consent agenda item for the select board, because it was on our long list of things that are just consented to without discussion, and it would be better if that actually gets read in the select board meeting. And I wish I had remembered that this
All
year,
right.
but,
So you okay with it, though?
oh, most definitely.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so in my intro, then I will make sure I mention about the street tree program. So what you're suggesting?
No, the
No,
bullet that
the
says
status.
that in Camden, as a tree city thing,
Mhm.
that we have that basically you have a tree care ordinance.
Yep.
All the things that are mentioned,
All right, so what I'm
and
gonna,
that there's Dave too.
So
And-
yeah, it's basically you, and you all may not realize,
Yeah.
but Camden is
Yeah.
sorry, thanks.
yeah, I was
You
kind
may
of,
not all realize, but Camden is a tree city designated by the Arbor Day Foundation
it's the,
and
Right,
something like
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And
Which isn't
the
there.
4 things that we do to qualify to be a tree city are da, 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 and that's what's listed here.
And we've
Right.
been one for this
Okay.
many years, and that's a
Yes.
great accomplishment, and
Yeah,
we'd really need Dave in here. Is he
that's
gone?
it, yeah, because it's a good segue to what Dave's gonna say.
Look at
Whoa!
Speaking of the devil.
He was waiting to be invited back.
they said, we really need David here, and then you just came in the door.
Would you guys like me
What
to
happens when
send
you're
my
involved?
intro around to you? Or do you not? As long as
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Right.
especially Dave, we're talking about we talked about the proclamation, but also just to give what it means, some highlights of what it means to be a tree city.
Do we have Nancy's binder of how to do this properly?
the Arbor Day Foundation
oh,
sent
yeah.
some stuff.
Right. So when Nancy retired, she was like, and now this is Allison's responsibility. And I was like, oh, I think I'll be a great thing for the committee. But she gave me a binder. And it had some of the things that were
Okay.
done in prior years. We've learned that some of those things were above and beyond the actual requirements. But if I
What is it you were asking about? Because I do remember reading through her binder when I took over applying for Tree City. What is the question you guys are asking?
What does it mean to be a tree city?
Oh, there's a very clear description of
That's
it
what I
on the Arbor Day website, and I don't want to misquote it, but there's basically like 4 qualifying standards. You have to
right.
Your
And then
community has this. It's like very straightforward.
I think that's what this is.
and that's what this says.
That's
It just
why we have the 4 standards are
That's
right
what's in
there.
the
Yep.
italics.
there
It's
is a
right
little
here,
bit
right?
more of a history of it in Camden that has a little bit of stuff that was kind of interesting, but
So is
Yeah.
that?
which
what
you
you're
guys probably
asking
already know.
is
Yes.
For these 4, you want,
It's on
you
here.
want something more elaborate? than
No,
that?
I think I think,
So you want
Was
me
Dave
to,
gonna
like,
say all that?
You want me
Yeah.
to say these things?
yeah, no, that's going to be, you're going to say, who's
I'm
going
gonna
to say
talk
that?
about what it means to be a tree city.
You are, okay.
That's what you said, or
Oh,
is that
yeah.
the question?
That's, I see that you are on there as the person to
I
talk
thought you
about.
were talking about the street tree program.
Yeah.
Oh, street tree.
So
Oh,
this
Oh,
is,
okay.
so,
I
Oh, I
misunderstood.
misread
Alright.
that.
so
So-
Brian's talking about what it means to be a tree.
Yeah, I got
Not
that.
About the street tree program.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Then I'm
Does-
gonna,
This is like, if you
Oh,
want to
right.
change this is the time to do that, though. Does that sound good that you
Yeah.
do the overview?
that's why, this is
Okay.
exactly why we're
Yes.
doing this right now.
Excellent.
So
So
we all know
you're going to talk about the program and
who's
then
who
you're
in the
talking about
zoo.
the street
I,
tree.
I don't
Right.
think you need this, but I have a huge packet that Nancy Cottle Johnson gave me. Anybody
Very
wants to see it.
I just
I
don't
think you're
need,
doing fine.
No,
I just
Okay.
don't want to
We-
be
That's the way I
confused.
feel.
So one thing that transpired.
Already.
What is it? So I'm not gonna read this is what I want to do. I don't want to read my daughter's poem because she just got out of college tomorrow. or
Oh,
she's
did
gonna-
she want to come
She's
read
gonna
it?
be here, so I think I'm gonna wrangle her. into it.
Great, that's great. That's perfect.
So,
That's perfect.
And then I did ask Justin about his daughter reading something, and she said she'd be more than happy to, but I don't know if he really asked her, but I think he volunteered.
Okay, that's
all
good.
right, so what I'm gonna do is I'll introduce Allison. She'll read the proclamation. Then I'll introduce Dave. I'll do my intro
I
first,
introduced
right?
Dave, right? Or no?
Right? I'll do my intro, including the 4 things and yada,
Yeah,
yada,
yeah.
yada. Introduce Allison, she'll read the proclamation. Then when she's done, I'll introduce Dave,
I'll talk about the tree program,
and then you're gonna have your daughter
and then my daughter will read her poem.
read her poem, right? All right, so that brings,
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Well, whatever,
Right,
you got the ball on that.
yeah,
Right.
I got that covered.
If she's there, great. If she's not, you got it.
She will.
Or maybe you could have Justin start.
All right,
I don't know if it's the same if you read it.
all right. And then we have
Then we have Julia
Julia,
from the library.
yep. And then Julia, after Dave in the poem, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want me to introduce Julia?
Well, okay, so
How do you want-
this is a big question on the questions of the segue between different people.
Yeah,
So, I don't know, we can talk about it now, or we could just go through the whole agenda.
I want to talk about it now.
You do? Okay, so there's 3 options.
I just want to make sure we're all on the
Yes,
same
definitely.
page.
Okay, these are the 3 options.
Yep.
The first one is, I'm working on this, I'm trying to get the gong guy from Hope to come.
The gong guy?
Yeah, the guy who makes gongs.
Oh, really? I haven't heard about this.
Oh, I know the guy you're
Yeah, he
talking about.
does a thing in the library every
Yeah.
summer.
Was he on the Gong Show or something?
No, he makes gongs. He's incredible. He
Okay,
has a gong the size of the tree, which we could have a gong. And I have somebody who will ring this or bong it in between,
Oh, that'd be cool.
so that there's a definite next.
Yeah. I
Okay,
like
so
that
that's
idea.
one option.
yeah,
The
No,
second
no,
is that-
That's great.
He
go
might
with
say
gong.
no,
Oh.
because he's volunteering.
Okay,
um,
Tim
But
Symbols.
if he does it, will somebody be announcing who the next person is?
Yes, yes. We have this figured out too. This is an option too.
okay,
So each person can just come up and say, I am Julia Sagerson.
Okay.
And I am going to be reading blah, 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 and I
Okay.
work at the library.
Okay,
Or Brian, you could be the MC and introduce each person.
I'll do whatever
Or-
you want.
What's that?
I'll do whatever you want.
Okay,
We can
for
even,
feedback, what do people think? Or we could have the last person who spoke introduce the next person too.
I think it's better if you have one person do everything,
Okay,
because it just kind of keeps it going.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So Sam volunteered to do that. She has a theater background
To do what?
to do that introducing of people, or if you want to do it. I
Right.
think you should do it,
Because
Brian.
no, but she could introduce him too. I mean, so just
Has a
sort of,
theater background? I want to see Sam do it.
What's that?
She's so quiet usually.
Yeah,
I would, that's
Samantha
cool
Sharp.
that she has that.
yes.
She,
I'm totally comfortable doing it, by the way.
Okay, so
This is like,
should
in
we,
my
is this
previous
something we should
life,
take a
I was
vote on?
like,
Or
I think a woman
mean,
should be doing it.
what's
I
that?
think a
well, I
woman
can't
should
use
be
the
doing it.
terminology I would have used.
I like the idea of Sam volunteering for that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if the gong shows up, we can either forget the gong or,
Well, why
What
don't
if
you,
The gong is a
Not the
great
gong.
idea. Everybody likes that too. And
Okay.
but if you can't do it, then we'll live, right?
yeah, then we got plan B.
Symbols or something?
Oh, yeah, if you can't do it, he'll do symbols.
I don't have
do,
any
oh, you
symbols.
don't?
Well,
We'll figure it. So that there is going to
Okay.
be somebody who
Sure,
will
school
make
has.
sure that the next person comes
okay,
on.
so when you're done,
Yes,
Dave, you just stop, and then I will introduce Julia, or we'll have the gong, okay?
Well, I
Or
think there
Sam
was a
will-
I thought Sam was
consensus
maybe
that
gonna-
Sam, being a theater
If
major,
Sam wants,
What?
it
What?
just feels like maybe if
Sam
Sam, if
wanted to
Sam,
Sam's not
Do it.
here, that's the thing.
well, she
But she
said,
told
yeah,
Kathleen.
she said as a total plan B,
Okay.
that she would do it.
I was
oh, as
just-
a plan B.
I'm
I
like,
just didn't want to volunteer her for something and.
No,
No,
she
no,
said she
she's
has a-
into it.
I do want to see Sam do this. And however, I'm wondering if it's a little confusing to like throw her into the mix too, because Brian's kind of starting up the
That-
show, right? And he's kind of doing that initial MC
Right.
introduction
I-
thing. And it makes sense to me to have him be the through line introducing.
I'll do whatever
people.
you guys want. I don't
Okay,
take it,
that's
I don't
just one
take it
opinion.
personally.
Okay,
It's
how,
like,
so
I'm
how
fi-
should we resolve this? Just,
why don't you talk to Sam and ask
Okay.
her what she wants to
and you
do?
know, if you do it, Brian, we will have a script for you of the names and the poem and so you'll know
Okay,
that.
that'd be good.
Okay.
And I think what we should do, Kathleen, is maybe you and Sam and I can meet offline or before
And
the,
go through it,
yeah, just like for a half an hour, so we can go
Okay.
sit in the common or something.
definitely.
You okay with that?
Yes, yeah.
But I don't care. If you want to talk to Sam, if she wants to do it, I'm fine with
No,
that.
no, this was the only thing we thought was a little loose ended, because I think that could also change the whole like flow of the program if we
Right.
don't have that, so.
Can I introduce one more version to confuse things? It seems like the program is kind of divided into two things, right? Where you've got people speaking maybe more speaking on something, and then you've got people reading a poem.
Right.
So maybe Sam like MCs the poetry reading stuff, and Brian does the first half of the program. That's another thought.
Yeah, okay,
Well, you guys talk about it and then,
okay.
is that okay?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, and then we have, okay, so after Julia's going to read a poem, right?
Yes,
Okay.
a very short poem.
Yep, good. And then we're going to have
Sam's daughter
Evelyn
is going to read a poem.
is going to read a poem. So I guess the assumption is when Julia finishes, Evelyn's going to get up and read a poem, and she knows she's supposed to do that.
Yes, yes, she's very excited about it.
And then we have student readings. So,
No, Mark
we have
Burrows.
oh yeah, Mark Burrows, sorry, yeah, Mark.
Which he's just coming back, but he's definitely going to do this. He's reading a poem he wrote.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. And then we have, okay, so then we have Mark, then we have student reading.
That's still up in the air.
I talked to Elfie, by the way,
Elfie, okay.
and I didn't get, she was in the process of trying to figure out if someone was interested, but I haven't heard anything back from her.
Okay, so we have to decide, because we have actually, right now, we have a waiting list for people to read poems.
Get out of here. So should I not ask Justin's daughter to do it?
Well, there's like 3 people at the library who want to read.
We only have,
And,
But we want kids.
But I think.
It's
I
nice
think-
to have a
I'm not
kid.
Yeah,
gonna
I
say-
think definitely Justin's kid. I think
Okay, so,
more young people.
Yes.
better.
so I think we should give another week, or should we just forget about Elfie? No.
well,
What do you, yeah,
I,
what do you
I
think?
can send Alfie a message and just, I know Alfie really well and I see her all the time.
Okay,
Because I'm a volunteer at the school. I just saw her this morning, actually, that, I'm gonna just run this by you, that unless she's got somebody that really wants to do it, I think we're all set. Is that all right?
yeah,
Because
okay.
we have a waiting list.
Of adults, no kids though. That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, but we do want kids.
I think, yeah.
So
We'd love- we
is
would
Justin,
love
how old
kids.
is Justin?
Justin's daughter,
Is,
I don't know, what, maybe,
Middle school,
she's probably like
she's
12 maybe?
oh, okay. So would she be interested in doing it as a
Delightful.
backup?
Well, I mean, I think we need to say yes or no to it. Like,
Well-
she's in school, right? She's probably gonna have to, I don't know, they get out at what, 2:00 or?
No,
2:30?
3:15 or something.
Yeah, she
I
could-
feel like it's important to prioritize kids.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
So
There's,
it's gonna
there's
be
only
during
2
school
kids
then.
in the whole event.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right, so why don't we,
So the student reading then, what, you don't have anybody else other than,
Evelyn, that's it. So far, is the only
Okay.
committed person. So we have like another week to
you-
finalize.
so
this.
your waiting list is all adults?
Yes,
Okay, I get it
I
now.
always ask the Ashwood, they do a lot of stuff with poetry and nature.
Yeah.
oh,
I can contact them
okay. It's,
if you
but,
want.
yeah, no. So we should definitely have a kid for, that slot, right?
So the other thing I was gonna ask, do we have a
You're short on
poem that we
kids, I
want them to read? That I can give her,
Um,
or is it gonna be something they choose?
something they choose, I think, unless they want.
On
I would say
trees.
something they choose unless they want to participate, but they don't feel inspired by a poem, we can give them one. I wouldn't want them to not do it because they can't think of something.
You have.
Could also have a kid read Brooke's poem if Brooke ends up not being available, rather than you reading it, but,
I was gonna have Brooke read.
oh, but then you said you were gonna do it if she
How much
didn't. I
time
was
you have?
thinking if you don't, if she doesn't for some reason, then you could have a kid do that.
Can't hear you.
But it sounds like she will be able
I
to.
think the kids, the part we're missing, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
missing.
If you're short on kids, that's your main issue is
wanna,
not being able to find
That's what they're
kids.
saying.
I could easily find a kid that like probably not one of my kids, but one of their friends. I know plenty that I could,
Okay,
like the ones that presented to the select board. I bet I could.
okay.
I mean,
So
that's
what,
the, but I don't know
so
that
we
they have their own
one kid
poem written.
already. We just need one more, preferably middle school or high school would be good.
Middle school
Yeah.
is very easy. Would you like a girl or a boy?
All right,
I don't
so,
know, so this is like the one really serious, the PA system in this is the one thing that's a little up in the air. So how should we leave it?
okay,
What's the
so,
order? Are you gonna find out about your person, right?
well, Alfie?
Yeah.
I can send her an email and I will do that when I go home.
Okay.
And
And then
then,
if not, can you email everybody and say this fell through?
What is he trying to find a kid? Like that's gonna be an easy one for me.
All
I
right,
can
should we
commit to
just
that
go-
right now.
yes,
I
So-
think we're connected to some of the same.
Allison will find a kid.
Okay, good.
Can I just say, I feel like it would be really nice procedurally to alternate adult, child in poetry reading.
Okay.
I don't know if other people feel that way,
Yeah,
because then you have the balance automatically.
okay, so,
so we
How
have,
many kids do we need?
so we have adult, Julia, we have your daughter, adult, we have Evelyn, who's a child, we have Mark Burrows, who's an adult, and then we'll have the second younger person.
and that's it.
Yes.
I can
But-
also give up my poem to a child.
No.
Oh, so I'm
No,
looking
no.
at,
My daughter's
No.
not a child either. I just was thinking.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
doesn't
She's
count as-
21.
Right, no, I didn't put her in
Right,
the
but
child
she's still-
category.
she's still a youth.
No, she's
She's still on your insurance.
Yeah, she looks young.
I was talking about the public reading part.
Oh, the public, we don't have any children for the public reading.
Okay, so that's,
So that's one of the reasons we don't, there's nobody's come forward unless, I mean, for the public, okay, so we have this list of people who were invited, and then we say, this is the public,
Yeah. what do
because
you
we
want?
invited people to submit poems.
okay.
Um,
So that's readers, Molly Harris, B.D. Parker, Ken.
Saying she's in school at that time is what he's saying. I wonder if we'll have the same problem with the other kids.
You
Yeah.
will,
But just leave school.
Yeah.
that can be,
Don't they want to do that? I would.
So it sounds like Allison's got it taken
I
care of,
feel,
right?
I'm gonna ask Heather
Okay.
Butler, who's the fifth grade teacher whose students presented to the
That's
select
great.
board. Some of those are not, I mean, if I get a hard, no, then,
Okay,
but I think some of them would be honored to get, yeah. Or I think my child could do it too, and I can have him.
There's someone I could ask that they have a couple boys.
so we can figure this out
Yeah,
in a
we'll
way.
Okay, so you guys
figure
gotta
this out.
And they
figure
can-
that
they
out.
can-
Okay.
They can
I will
pick
pick
a
a-
poem, write a poem. We can give them a poem, a short poem. You
I
know.
will even I have a 12-year-old who's, could be coached into this.
Great, okay.
He's not like a huge public
Right,
speaker.
this.
I was gonna say
I mean,
$20.
he'd be happy. That's
No,
my
that'd be great.
fallback.
That's
and
great.
I
Thank you.
Okay.
certainly
Okay, so
can
that's
succeed.
sort of figured out. So, okay, so there's like an adult and then a young person. So,
All right. And then at the end, I
so
mean,
then,
so,
It's like an open call.
yeah, the end is the general public reading, which is, so far, we actually thought that people might be suffering from poetry fatigue by now. We tried to just get like 4 slots, I think, for the general public. Because it's only an hour, the whole program's just
I
an
know.
hour. And so Molly, of course, has to read the poem that is in our brochure. And she's our guiding light here. The Mary Oliver poem.
Yep,
Because
good.
I'm dropping out if there's no Mary Oliver, I'll just tell you that.
all right, we'll make sure we do that then.
Thanks.
Just remember though, as much planning as you do, there's gonna be like improvising on the fly when this all happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well,
That's what
and
the gong is for.
if I don't know how strict the 1 hour limit is, but I also think if you still have people energized to get up and
Let 'em-
read
let
and
'em
we're
do
in
it.
the
Let 'em
hour and
keep
20
on rolling.
minutes,
Definitely.
just let them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Jeremy, we
Let it
can
have
put
its
him up
life.
there, he'll read poetry all day long.
That sounds scary.
Kind of read the vibe.
Wait, so Camden
it's
Poetry
true.
Weekend Festival or whatever that is, it's coming right up anyways.
Right,
People who
yeah.
don't get enough
That's-
poetry.
No,
That's the
I was just
16th,
thinking that
isn't it?
maybe, well, if you're going to attend this, you like poetry anyway.
All right,
so-
and these people are gonna know when this person's finished, they're gonna know they're the next one and they're gonna get up and
Yeah,
we
the
gotta
gong's gonna tip
coach them
off.
on all that
And
stuff.
that if we decide that you're the MC
Yep.
or Sam,
Yeah,
we'll have it all written out. to
Perfect.
introduce. And what the
Good.
poem is too.
Yep.
You're also going to have a program that will be handed out when people go up that ramp.
excellent.
What about food?
We decided just to have like seltzer or something and not food.
So we're not
Good
gonna have
idea.
like a few little things?
Yeah.
No,
No.
we don't need food. It's an
Everybody
hour.
said
I think
People won't
it's too
starve.
hard. We don't know how many people are going to show
No.
up.
Yeah,
And it's 1 o'clock, right?
it's 1 o'clock, right?
This is
No,
what Dave's done every
Yeah.
year.
Lunch generally.
I'm okay with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
no food, just some
Yeah.
I mean,
water.
Water.
Right, yeah.
Hydration is important.
All right, I was thinking cupcakes. No cupcakes?
No.
What's up with that?
I mean, that would lure people
You
in.
bake them if you want.
Okay.
So,
Get them
okay,
across the
so,
street.
so we're gonna have for the public reading, we're gonna have Molly Beatty is reading a
You don't want the
poem
kids
that
to come.
you
You good with
wrote.
that, Petey?
Yeah, yeah.
Good,
Oh, you got a poem you wrote?
And Ken, he's from.
nice.
Ken, I believe, is Julia's boyfriend who did the tree.
Ken Gross?
No,
No,
Ken Wright.
I think
Oh.
is gonna read, maybe.
Cool.
He seems.
He's
nice.
a little
I've
old
seen
for
some things he's
Julia.
written on Facebook, actually.
I don't know. I don't know these people.
I was like, oh, I recognize that name from
Ah.
thoughtful comments I've seen on the internet.
And then we haven't actually, we haven't gotten any poems from the request. So maybe people will come. and just bring their poem.
Yep,
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So we have,
okay.
So
no,
there's
I'm
also space
down
for-
with like extending the time. Because I think if somebody comes with their poem, you can't say no. right?
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So the only other thing we have, does that seem like it all works?
Yeah, it does,
Great.
to me.
So then Sam just had a couple of these questions that we can briefly go over.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to do that, Brian, or the
Um,
first one?
Yeah, okay, so,
Okay, we sort of covered those.
okay, the opening remarks, I've got the ball in that. I'm going to introduce Allison.
And you're gonna work on your intro and send it around. That's
Yep,
basically
mhm.
what that first
Yep.
question is.
You got it. It may not be exactly what I say, but it'll be pretty close. Okay. So we're going to plant the tree on the corner, but we're going to move to Harbor Park to do the overall presentation proclamation. That addresses the street noise problem, right?
Yes.
Okay?
So what are we gonna do? Move to Harbor Park where? Like
You know where the soldier is, the
There's like a
statue? There's
ramp.
a-
Kind of right there.
Up the top of that hill.
At the flat
At the
part?
very top.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there's going to be somebody standing there handing out programs.
Who's going to do that?
I don't know. Anybody want to volunteer?
I can do that.
Well, I'd volunteer for that, but I was also thinking that ought to be there. And I'd volunteer my truck and me to help move it, but I'm sure I can't pick that up.
Great.
Nice.
Oh, so are we bringing that there? I
That'd
can,
be
That'd be
great.
a neat thing to have there, I think.
I can bring that down
Yes.
ahead of time. But where do they don't want it
And if it
back, they don't
rains-
want it back here is what I've been told.
Oh, really?
It goes forever.
Huh?
They don't want it
Let's
here.
stay at the
again?
library for a little while.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Can someone find out if it's okay to put it at the library or maybe at the, I was thinking at, what's the Historical Society?
Well, we are, I think the library would be better.
Is it
Center?
okay outside?
No.
I want to know who doesn't want it here.
Yeah, what?
I mean, I was asked by Dave Morrison, is that gonna stay here forever or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I,
Yes.
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 I'm gonna put it back there.
That's how Dave asks when, it would definitely get more viewed at the library.
Let's
I
ask.
think
I
seeing-
can ask Julia. Do you want me to
And-
ask?
Can we get a painting of the, I mean, a picture?
I'm gonna print off nice photos
of the
and,
tree?
yeah, and
put
a
it in
story
frame?
about the
Oh,
tree and
nice.
I'm gonna make it look nice somehow.
That's
That'd be
cool.
great.
Perfect. 'cause
And
that's-
we can
that's
have
what it's
people
missing.
like have a photo op in front
Right.
of it too.
Right. That
Like
looks
a-
good.
you know.
I love it.
Okay, so is that,
I think I'll go to Julia's and volunteer to assist them in any way I can,
Great.
and I'll hand out.
sounds great.
That's
That
great.
thing's like
That's great.
200 something
I figured it was
pounds.
really-
It's heavy. You don't want to
Probably
be.
take at least 3 to.
Okay, so she asked about having the tree planting at the end of the program. I think we should have it at the beginning.
Me too.
Okay,
I like the beginning.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the beginning too.
I'd kick off.
And then there's a question about, should we have people, kids or other people throw dirt on the tree?
I was just gonna say that. So, because the tree is gonna be in the hole already, and then we'll have the dirt staged maybe in a wheelbarrow or something.
The soil.
Yeah, the soil. And then,
They can still handles in.
yeah, we'll just cover it up and
Okay,
we'll take care of the rest after.
You're gonna let the public do it, like shovel at a time, or you're gonna have someone gonna just do
They
it?
want.
We just don't want to take a long time doing it.
Because it said something here about small shovels for kids.
No.
yeah,
I
maybe
don't know.
next
They
year.
can bring
Traffic and
people have them
everything?
Bring them, but if you, we can't.
I got a
afford to
small
buy it.
shovel.
Maybe I
Um,
just
Might
put all
be any
the
kids there.
soil on the side of the hole and then we can just push it in. All right,
Okay.
Okay,
And also for people, if they can come, like the people who are presenting, if they can come at 11:30, just to do,
11:30?
Mhm.
Is that one, right?
yes, which is a little early, but just maybe maybe you, Brian, or people are really gonna,
okay, I don't care. Come whenever you want.
Molly, I don't know if you can come early. but,
At
and then-
11:30?
You mean 12:30?
She said 11:30.
We're not
but
leaving
12
things to chance this year, guys. So this is
What?
being taken seriously. So we're not leaving things to chance this year. There's a script, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. I, Yeah.
Maybe,
Past two.
what about 12?
12, okay, 12.
12
that's
o'clock
fine.
it is.
12, okay.
it's a nice
As
conversation.
far as
Okay.
chairs, what do you
Something
recommend, how many
organized.
chairs you want?
Well, we discussed it, maybe, what, 20, you think, or no? What do you think, Barb?
I don't know if we should ask Barb.
Last year we had 6 people, so.
Where are the chairs? coming
That's a,
from?
Well,
that's,
if everybody
I've
in
seen
this room
pictures. There were
comes,
more than
that's at
6
least-
people there.
There were more.
But there was this contribution
We'll be standing up.
You
I think you should all bring a friend.
But that was with no.
I don't have any friends.
It's,
Find
the other
somebody.
places haven't even been in a public location. Just having excitement going on in that area will attract people.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas people are not attracted to Upper Mechanic Street on their own, you know? like-
We're advertising this time. It's more
Right.
of a program,
Right.
so people are
I think you're right.
there.
Why not 20 chairs?
Should we invite like Rockland?
Oh.
I put some,
No, I mean the Rockland tree people. I would
I
just,
put
I don't
some
know.
flyers.
We're the
in
Rockland Tree people.
Rockport Post
there's a,
Office.
there's a person, they're trying to fire up their tree.
Yeah, I think the more the better.
You know them.
I just think it'd be a nice thing if you invite.
Tell them
You
about
can-
it.
Not
why don't you-
Rockport.
why
Oh,
don't
yeah,
you
I
invite
actually, if I had thought about my select board update a little bit more, I would have told you that I met with the Rockland, what do they call it? The mayor, I guess, the chair of the city council and another person on the city council about, they want to do some of the wetland mapping stuff and they're,
What I was thinking, this is like a good opportunity to kind of invite them.
I think it would be great. We can invite
And then
'em.
we can collaborate on things as things grow, you know?
oh yeah, we could
Right.
just like chat afterwards
Right,
about things.
that's what I was thinking. It's
Now,
not a
that'd be
bad-
nice.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, get a little cross.
Yeah, all right, I know.
No
Do
pun
you want to
intended.
do that? Do you want to invite them?
Well, I think she just
Wanna
said she
invite
knew
them.
What's that?
somebody.
about this
I think that's the best place to, is like.
Oh, yeah,
the
I'll
mayor.
say,
I know, I
following
just
up on,
wanted to
maybe you guys
finish
want to
up.
invite your, you know.
Move
Yeah.
along.
I mean, we're
guys.
almost done, right?
Yes, so I think
We
we're
got
done.
Jeremy here and I mean,
You want to use his time wisely.
Okay, yes, I think we're done. Thank you very
Jeremy's
much.
enjoying himself. I can tell by what.
Right, we're done.
Oh, okay.
Okay, unless you have other questions.
No.
There is a small chance we're going to test the PA system at the library.
Yeah.
But do we have access to another one if this is not a good one? Does
Well,
the town
Dave
have one?
Morrison
Ask
said he
Steve
could, help-
Pixley.
he could help us out,
or-
but I was told that
Okay.
we didn't need to because we had already resolved it from the
Okay.
library.
Okay.
Okay, your,
moves.
Mhm.
You might get a PA system.
Oh,
microphone. Or you don't, Jeremy's like, I'm not going on record with this.
maybe Dave can come and play his guitar or something.
How many did cheers?
You play the
did we
guitar?
want?
Yeah, really
Honestly.
poorly.
I say
I don't
none,
think
but
into
it's
Sam
their
Hands
30,
like one of the
so
ones
something-
people want to hear.
Is that
All
the
right.
only thing you know?
And
Huh?
I wondered what the conclusion was. Kathleen, how many cheers did we?
I don't know.
20?
I think there is a sandwich board. there
Yeah,
at the
I don't know what
library.
But I was thinking out of the corner where people
Oh,
walk.
I just
by.
have one other question. So we're going to have these brochures and these, right? We should have
Might be able-
available?
well,
yeah.
Where do you get
Use
these?
it.
You want me to go see if I can find, how many more I can find?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right,
Okay.
Jeremy,
Okay,
my friend.
yeah, great, thank you.
I think they have more out there, but.
So,
So I'm here. I saw the agenda. I figured I'd jump in.
So-
Barb and I had chatted a little bit.
and Rebecca wants to link up with you, right?
Correct. Yep.
And there's two situations with Rebecca. One of them is the NERPA application stuff. I talked to her on the phone yesterday, right?
Okay.
And she wants to work with you to help beef up the NERPA application.
Well, just so you know, NERPA applications, those are DEP permits, right?
Yep.
We don't review them technically. We get provided a copy of them. Every municipality gets a copy of a NERPA application that is submitted to the department. Our office has never traditionally reviewed them other than reviewed them for purposes of permitting on our side, the
Right.
things that we need to permit.
Yep.
There's been one instance where I have provided comment on a NERPA application to the department, DEP, on behalf of the town. I'm probably not going down that road anymore, but I know the commission has an interest in reviewing those and providing comment if they need to, or if they feel it's necessary. There are I've sent a handful of applications to the commission. There's one that came in yesterday, 22 Waters Edge, and this one kind of got lost, it seems like, at DEP. 22 Water's Edge, it's in Sherman's Cove. You know where Water's Edge is? Do people know where that is? So 144 Sherman's Point is the house on the point.
Yep.
Now coming back along the cove.
Yeah.
So you're coming back towards Camden.
Mm-hmm.
Just as you come back around, there's like kind of a Frank Lloyd Wright type house that sits in there, kind of a funky.
Is that the one with there's like a pool in front?
Yes.
I read that application.
Okay,
actually.
so that one has been resent to me
Yep.
for more comment from
Yep.
from the commission if we
Yep.
want to provide it. And I shared that with you. The just so you know how these process, that permit application that was submitted to the department is for a pier relocation.
Right.
There's a pier there, and then there is like armoring that bank.
Yeah.
Our ordinances that we have review over the pier. We don't do review over the armoring. That doesn't mean the commission can't provide comment to the DEP about the armoring project. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes.
No
Is that
rules
clear?
right now that if people armor and it's, the DEP lets them,
Mhm.
can we say the armoring can't negatively impact their neighboring?
That would be a comment that you would provide to the DEP.
Okay.
Those would be comments. And as I understand, they're starting to review that impact on abutters more than they ever have before. And there was recently new rules and they adopted them on armoring of shorelines, both on the ocean and on lakes,
Mhm.
which is actually, I haven't read all the rules yet, that there was a story on public radio the other night about this. So armoring with straight just rock as opposed to nature-based solutions is only going to be permissible now if you have a structure, apparently permissible if there's a structure within 100 feet of that shore that is eroding. If there's no structure there, then you can't use the rock armoring. You
Got it.
have to use nature-based solution. It's
Right.
kind of a wonky thing. I mean, I leave that to the Board of Environmental Protection, but they came up with those rules. Go
I have
ahead,
a
Barb.
question.
Yeah.
I haven't done any research on it really, but like when people want to put in piers, they go to the edge of the property and they want to just build that up so they can have a base for the pier. But what if the pier went way back on the property? Some of these places have a big lawn. Like you
Mhm.
made the base of if this is your lot
Mhm.
and that's the water, make the base of the pier here. So it's on the property and then they have to walk a little bit further out. Could that be an option?
Yeah, I don't think that's an option because DEP likely wouldn't give you a permit for that because of the structure being up here because it's a water dependent use. And so they really want that really there as opposed to in the lot.
But see, that would prevent you from having to build up the coastline, which just hurts the neighbors.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think every case is different and every site's different.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Is
dilemma.
this the Maine adopting the nature-based solution shoreline?
Mhm. It's actually something that I was actually looking and talking to the planning board about doing a year ago when we were doing the new pier regulations. I had talked to the planning board about coming up with new regulations to prohibit armoring of shorelines unless you were needed to do it to protect a structure.
Right.
Which, you want to protect someone's asset, right? That's their home. So, so that's moving forward. But so the 22 Water's Edge is moving forward. That's going to go to the Harbor Committee. And then it goes to the Select Board. And then it goes to the Planning Board. They need approval from the Harbor or the Select Board and the Planning Board. This one's a relocation. So this is not really like a new pier. It's a really wonky setup that's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I saw
Currently,
it.
it's really odd.
Odd. Yeah.
And so in essence, they're just kind of, it's for the most part in the same location. They're just tweaking how it's attaching to land and then what direction it goes out into the water to make it
Right.
safer. So that will go. And I know in the new standards, and this is a relocation, it's not a brand new pier. So all those standards that we came up with that people voted on and approved, not all of those apply to this case, but a lot of them do, and they're providing documentation that they'll meet those standards. But the Harbor Committee reviews it. The Harbor Committee provides comments and recommendations to the Select Board. Select Board and the Harbor Committee use the same review criteria. The Select Board then approves it or denies it. If they approve it, then it goes to the Planning Board for Planning Board's review and approval with different standards. So that is, even if DEP approves it, it still has to get approved locally. So DEP could approve something and we could deny it if we
Okay.
wanted to. I'm not
So-
saying that's the case for this one.
Yeah, no,
Because it's
but so
different.
the town has the ultimate authority to approve it or disapprove it, right?
We have authority to approve it or disapprove it.
Yeah,
DEP has authority to approve it and disapprove it too. It doesn't, all parties have to approve it, right?
So just to go from a process standpoint, because it's a little confusing, but it's getting clearer. So, for example, in our group, Rebecca has by far the most experience
Yeah.
with this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think what we were thinking her role would be, along with any assistance we can give, would be to help review those NERPA applications, including this one. And I actually talked to her about this one.
Yeah.
And to any questions she has, then would go back to the DEP comments, right? So just from a process standpoint, that's the way it would work. So where she could help assist you, because you got a lot on your plate, would be to provide you with some additional eyes to look at these things and help provide comments.
Well,
That would go back to the DEP
it's a little awkward. I'm not sure.
as part of as a conservation commission.
Yeah, I mean, I think the comments should really come from the Conservation Commission and not
Okay,
from
yep.
department.
Yep.
A department.
Good. That's why we're talking,
yeah.
because we've got to figure this
Yeah,
all out.
I mean, I'd certainly come in here and meet with you when
Yeah,
you guys go over those comments, and I could provide comments too to you about how you
But
review
those
or
go
thoughts
to
on
the
things.
DEP.
Those go to the DEP.
Perfect.
Correct.
Good.
Yep.
And then there were other applications. I think there were 3 other applications.
Yeah, there's another one on Sherman's Point, like
Yep.
88 or something, which
Right.
is north of.
So how would that help you to have her do separate comments? Would she be doing them would she be taking part of your workload away?
Come in from the commission.
No, it's coming from the commission
Yeah,
rather
right.
than staff. It'd be a little awkward for us. I mean, because I don't have, I mean, I could review them, but we're also, it's just a weird place because we review under certain standards and certain code requirements, and then
Right.
we issue permits. Now, venturing into another place of like reviewing a DEP permit, with using their standards and providing comments it just gets me, I think, in a really weird, tough place to review something and issue a permit locally. But at the same time, providing comments that might be negative, like
Right, so.
to the
okay, so
department,
sure,
it might be
the-
weird. Those should come from the
purpose
commission.
of
Yeah, okay.
Rebecca doing this isn't to help.
No, it's to help the commission and to help
The
the town
town, right.
provide comments to the department.
Right.
Because
Okay.
DEP traditionally, they send these applications to departments and it's just like for comment, right?
Yeah,
And
I get
that's
it.
And that's all it is.
Yep.
They never get any comments back ever
Yep.
on these things. So they generally rubber stamp for the most part, all the permits that come through, unless there's, flagrant problems. They'll just rubber stamp because no one cares. No one's making a big stink out of it. They meet the standard the best they can tell and they approve the project. So if a community starts providing comment,
Yeah.
then they start looking at things deeper.
This is
And-
very helpful.
Yeah,
Because it
this is-
all makes
clarifies it.
much more sense.
Yeah.
And then, then the Conservation Commission's role really is to help preserve the town's natural environment.
I think that's right. I think it's
And
to
then,
review,
make the resiliency and all that other stuff. I got it.
to protect the town's resources.
Exactly.
So under that new rulemaking, did you go over the streamline portion of it?
I didn't see the streamline. I knew that they were doing for lakes and I didn't see anything about
So it
streams
says
yet.
under the applicants can use a streamlined permit.
Oh, right.
As long as they follow certain standards and process called by permit or rule, but it only applies to those projects using nature-based methods.
Yeah.
Or those that use at most 125 feet of linear feet of reinforced rock called riprap. So they're trying to like get people, they're saying, hey, we'll do an expedited
Expedited permit.
If you use a nature-based solution and you're under 125 feet.
Right. Okay, so you're proactive about it.
Well, this,
You know-
this new rule is trying to get people to do more of that.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's brand new. I mean, this is just the last couple of days. Yeah.
Got it.
And I will say, I mean, there's a lot of people had issues with this, the way they were going. And I tend to agree with some of the issues that people had with this. Not every site is the same.
Yep.
And this is like,
Well,
not every
there
site's the
can be
same.
exceptions, but of course nothing's the same, but
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere.
Okay.
You do.
So can we segue to the stream?
Sure.
So Rebecca's not here, and she's supposed to be in charge of this, but,
So, and maybe I can just jump in.
please.
The streams, as I think we talked about last time, right? There's different classifications of streams, certain ones that the town can regulate, and those are shoreline zone streams only.
Right.
We don't go down the road of anything that has a defined bank, anything like DEP calls a stream other than the shoreline zone streams. And that's defined bank, devoid of upland vegetation,
Right.
mineral bottom, aquatic insects. So these could be very small things that streams and drainages that people might think are just they call them ditches. But
Right.
they tend to be streams under the definition of stream for DEP. So when someone does any work within 75 feet of high water, you need to get a permit. There's either the permit by rule process or there's a full-blown permit.
Got it.
Now, they generally don't review any vegetation removal, you can clear for the most part the entire up to that high water, normal high water of that stream. You can cut the vegetation, you can put a structure up to 25 feet from high water. To me, I think especially for resources like, streams that enter McGuntacook Lake or enter Hosmer Pond, or other streams that enter like Spring Brook, which is a really sensitive cold water fishery. You want to protect those, and you protect those with vegetative buffers and tree canopy and those kinds of things, and increased setbacks. DEP setbacks and tree removal standards are, you can, again, remove all the trees along the stream if you want, and we don't have any authority over that. So the idea was ways that we could protect our resources, freshwater resources and ocean, better, and be more proactive, going beyond what DEP does. I mean, Hosmer Pond, as we know, it turned green right when the mountain fell into the
Right.
had all that erosion. The sediments are still in the bottom of the lake. There's, if oxygen gets to a certain place, it's depleted in the bottom, then phosphorus starts coming out of those sediments, and then the lake can turn green. Anytime you add more nutrients into the water, that's what happens, or potential to happen. So I think if we can ramp up or at least look at protecting, increasing vegetative buffers on our own around, I don't know what we call the streams, certain streams, then it really benefits water quality for everyone. So I think that's where Rebecca and I have chatted in the past and trying to define what those streams will be. I think we need to just come up with rather than the way DEP does it, it's DEP comes out and makes a formal field determination. If a consultant or someone like myself can't say it's a stream, I don't want to have to do field determinations on every single drainage or everything that's in someone's yard. So I think we would need to look at, and this is what we talked with Rebecca about, is like figuring out which streams to include.
Right.
And that's where we are now.
So we're just looking at having the Conservation Commission members to go to some of these places, let's say starting with Spring Brook, which is the most curious sort of, and walking up and saying, this is definitely a stream. No, that's not just.
I don't think walking, because you got to tread lightly on walking on private property, right? So I think it's really looking at USGS topo maps, and that's what I talked about
LiDAR.
her.
Okay.
Well, I think you need to, in the ordinance, we're going to need to define what these streams are. So oftentimes some ordinances look at USGS topo map series X
Yep.
as anything with a blue line on that. You
But
can't.
aren't drainage ditches owned by the town?
Mm-mm.
No?
Just the ditches that are in the right of way. We don't even technically own them unless we have a fee for ownership.
I know, but the argument could be made that, a lot of these places that are presumably being used as drainage, we have prescriptive easements already across them. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of them fall in that category.
That's what I was told by the
Yeah.
we used to own the house next to us, and the person who did the inspection said, this whole easement is owned by the town,
Over on Hardin.
on Hardness between our
Yeah,
houses.
that one is a different scenario than most all the other ones. That was actually, there is an easement there. We actually put infrastructure in there.
Right, but the thing is like there's a lot, believe it or not, the more you dig into this, the more you find we have easements across a lot of these areas and presumably brooks.
Yeah.
And
I don't think-
I don't think you can do an assessment unless you look at it. You know what I mean? You got to actually do some type of evaluation of it. You can't do it from a USGS map.
I think you can.
How can we?
I think you can. I think you can look at a USGS map.
You can meet, you can check, you can ask if all of the criteria is met by looking at a map. How do you define if it has a gravel bottom?
Well, this is what I was saying. You can't really, because anything that shows up as a blue stream on a USGS topo map is going to be a stream. There's
Yes.
matter of factly. There are those
Definition.
that, by definition,
Right.
there are those other areas that have the topo lines.
Yep.
The contours, you're like,
I
oh
get
yeah,
it.
there's a
That don't
drainage.
have the blue line.
Right, there's a drainage right there.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that like, okay, that would need to be looked at, but
Right,
not all of them are streams. I would say not even half of them are probably streams.
right.
So it's like, for my thinking, it's just really trying to protect those ones that we can, in a way, identify so that we can identify it in a code. We can identify it for property owners that they know when they're buying a property, those kinds of things. Like,
But these aren't, you're not talking about the ones with the blue lines. You're talking about
The ones that are next to the blue lines
Yeah.
that feed into.
the elevate, where
Right.
the topographical profile indicates there could be a stream.
right, water drains this way.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
right.
So I think what we were thinking, what Rebecca was going to work with you to try to identify some of the hot spots, like where would be most beneficial to look first based
I
on,
was
Sure.
thinking that too. It's the ones that
Development.
Sure.
potentially
I think
have
we all
culvert-
probably know what they are.
yeah, right.
I think we all do. I
And
mean,
then we can, after you guys kind of figure out where the hot spots might be.
Yeah.
Then we could go out and do that. And,
I wouldn't even think you necessarily needed to do that necessarily. I mean, I think it's like supporting this effort to try to regulate these other streams, this other tier of streams in a way that we don't currently, and support that.
Yep.
And again, I think we could probably all sit down and with a map and be like, oh yeah, that one. We
Yep.
all know what those are.
And then what will be the next step? after
And
that?
then we would draft a code of amendments to
Got it.
regulate those streams and tree cutting and buffer areas
Got it.
around those
Got it.
streams.
I got
So
it.
we don't have to actually go visit.
I don't think so.
We have to do field.
I don't
work.
think so.
All
I don't
right.
think so.
I thought we did.
I mean, if we're gonna do this, like, and pick up every one that is like defined banks, gravel bottom, like,
Yeah,
that is huge.
it's huge. Yeah.
And that, my gut says, is that might not go anywhere with the voters. But if you've got a defined
Yeah, no, I get
stream
it.
that we all know, like, I'm thinking of the one,
I think you can do both.
what's the stream, Ross and Ave, that comes out behind, that is below the subdivision,
Right.
the Cobb Hill Road, that brook right there, that has no protection, right? I mean, that house, thankfully, that's moving forward, the town taking that lot if the voters approve, but that had no protection, and like, they could clear that whole area and all that, so.
Yeah, but I would think that if you're identifying it like on a map, it wouldn't hurt to like validate a location too and still do it meets these three, we looked at it. It's not gonna hurt.
It's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt.
Then you could say that we looked at it, visually on a map, but we also had a field check.
Yeah.
That just, and then that app could have that portion in there.
Right.
I think you want to have some of that in, not just totally rule that part out, but I mean, that's just, and then like,
Well, it's also sometimes incremental change is easier than like all of a sudden we're gonna start regulating every single
yeah.
drainage on someone's property and the
I'm
tree
agreeing with
removals.
what you're saying initially, but saying that you could also just validate it with a
Mhm.
physical check.
Yeah.
Not only did we look at the map, but we also did physical checks and it did
Yeah.
check out to meet all the criteria.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about fixing everyone, but if we can increase the number of
protected streams.
protected streams, I mean, like increase the number of places that should be a stream and get them on the map.
All right, so then,
Not all.
Allison?
So I think there are two different issues. One is the number, there, streams that can be verified as streams have some protections built in to state law. But they're, fairly minimal, and in some cases probably should be fairly minimal. But then we have some streams that are like not at all in question of being streams, but they have no protection beyond the minimum protections, but they're flowing all the time. They're small, tributaries with brook trout and all of these things, and have fairly minimal development around them now. But I can easily name the ones that, there's the one that goes under Belmont Avenue. There's the one that comes down from underneath Rossin Ave behind Leuven Terrace and all of that stuff.
These would all be blue on that topo map.
There's
Okay,
Bailey-
that's what I'm looking for.
There's
Got
Bailey,
it.
there's Bailey Brook.
Yep.
There's Bear Brook is in Hope. There's Carl Brook. There's, there are a bunch of them there's Daly Brook. And
Right.
I don't think it's a lot of detective work needed for those that we could review. Okay, these are the, sort of named streams that would have, more protection than the 25-foot, whatever. And then also, I think separately from that would be getting it really well mapped out, everything that can be verified as meeting the stream criteria, getting that better mapped out, but still those streams just falling into the kind of minimum state things.
Okay.
But if we could I could come up, take a stab at the list of streams that I,
So
Thank you, now.
Rebecca and I were chatting, and Rebecca's looking at maps. I think probably I'm sure she started already. I would maybe suggest meeting with Rebecca and chatting about those streams. Because she was we're trying to identify, doing what you're.
I mean, as
coming
part of
from
the
you.
watershed study, we've, done a lot. I've worked with IFW, mapping out their brook trout streams and
Yeah. Well, those are the streams I want to protect. right
Yep,
there, that we
absolutely.
need to protect, and that's where vegetation clearing and removal, which DEP doesn't seem to care so much about.
Yep,
But a shoreline zoning can, and we can
Right.
we can expand some of that tree
That's great.
removal to these smaller streams.
right.
And my point, what I was
Yes.
trying to say is, trying to define what those streams are so that when we can regulate them and how you do that, and it's hard to try to,
so how about I send a list to Rebecca that she can review?
That's perfect.
And you, and then we'll see if everybody's in agreement and,
Yeah.
because I feel like
That's
this could
great.
take an hour.
Yeah.
That's great.
it's perfect. And then what we would try to figure out is how best to come up with standards for tree
Right.
removal and those things.
Right.
And
And some
there
of
might
that-
be, my perspective, there might be like no removal at all within 25 feet,
Right.
like no removal.
Nothing.
No.
And now what
No,
about,
no
is there
That's
any,
just-
But that stuff isn't rocket science. We just got to identify it and put the,
And be able to enforce.
and
it.
copy on some other
yeah,
working regulation somewhere else for the
Yeah.
most part? that
exactly.
Is a little, it's
These are
not the same
regulations we
level
already
as,
understand, right?
yeah, it
For the
doesn't
most
have to be
part.
the 100.
Good. This sounds
With
great.
some, adaptations that will make ours greater than all the other.
This is a lot
ordinances, but-
simpler than it seemed before.
It always seemed this simple to me. I just didn't want to be the one driving the
Well, you
train.
know the saying, the teacher will arrive when the student's ready? Bingo.
Well, I think we've been trying to
Yeah.
combine the issues, that the conversation
Right.
gets scattered into this. We're going to go out and we're going to find all the streams, which is a different exercise than
Yeah.
the major ones. If you have to search for them, then they're not the right ones.
I get it. This is great.
But then the other thing, while we were on streams that are worthy of additional protection that are already shoreline zoning streams, Springbrook.
Yeah.
What is the development threat level in that area? Because there's been a lot of talk in the past about trying to
Yeah, I think.
prevent
so.
the full conduization of, and
Well,
hopefully you will let us know before it's too late.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from them. I haven't.
So that
heard
would be the
through.
time, it would be the time to do it now,
Yeah.
before
I
we get
think
accused of
should
interfering with
look at-
somebody's.
I think that's a good point. I do think, and that's why I mentioned spring brook and brook trout,
They're
all
gonna-
water fishery. I think it's important. We should try to start looking at ramping up tree removal on that type of stream.
We should ramp up tree removal.
No,
Yeah.
it's preventing it and maintaining like a minimum vegetated,
buffer.
like
Preventing,
including replanting and,
tramp up, maintaining tree
Tree
cover.
removal, Right?
and it, I mean, maybe it should be 100 feet and not 75 feet.
Right,
and-
exactly.
But we got to
Totally.
do that now with
We
Spring
do have
Brook.
to do it.
Otherwise, you're going to be trying to do it after somebody already makes an investment
Right.
in a development, which is when it gets really
Yeah.
complicated
Yeah,
and
I can see
litigious.
where it would.
And-
So
I
we,
mean-
we have to come, it's like right now that would be the,
Yeah, we should work on that.
so that they know you're not going to be able to cut down as many trees as, the minimum standards may have allowed in the
Right,
past.
And the
And
story behind this, Nordhaven, I assume you know what Nordhaven
I know, I
is.
do.
And so,
Yep.
I mean, they've got a
They just
9
bought more
lot,
property.
10 lot.
I've looked at the map and.
They have more property. They bought the lot across the street, where Springbrook dumps into the ocean, and they have more land up back.
Wow.
So they are looking at doing an expansion. So that is factual. They are
Wow.
looking at
And
that.
they've been saying that since the beginning.
Um,
That workforce housing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
Kinda
thing,
work
and
for
the
them.
thing is, like, because all the flat, dry pieces are built on, right? And now everybody's like moving to the places that are left. And there are there are a lot of them in these
And
areas.
and there's a lot
slanted.
of wetlands.
Yeah, slanted.
okay,
I
so
mean, it is
you-
remarkable. I mean, we've issued since December, 10 new house permits in Camden. That's a lot, for Camden since December. And they're happening on lots, I don't think, there's so much land in Camden, but there's so much land that's steep, but there's also a lot of land that people just are holding on to.
Right.
All over. You can go all over town.
Mhm.
right,
So when people say there's not a lot of buildable land, there's a lot of buildable land. People are just holding on to their land because I think they like the pastoral character of
Yeah.
it. And why sell it? I don't need to sell it.
Yeah, right. I don't
have
need
a
the
house and
money.
I have 100
Yeah.
acres. I'm fine.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or then you see that they do sell it, like
Mhm.
they're like the 4 acres on John Street, off of John Street, that
Mhm.
was
Still
Kind
for
of.
sale. Still can't figure out a way to get frontage on that lot.
okay.
That's the problem there.
Okay, can you give us a quick update on the lot on Chestnut Street, but that was at the corner of Greenfield Lane, where they cut down everything?
Sure. My favorite subject.
But hold on,
Thanks
just
for-
real quick with,
thanks for-
before we let the thread
tree stumps.
be lost on Spring
Yes.
Brook, does the Conservation Commission want to ask Jeremy to propose some additionally protective
I think that
language?
would be helpful. And then I would
so that he,
take something to the planning board.
because everybody's going to be like, later on.
Okay.
And so that won't be the time for Jeremy to try to stop it. So for the Conservation Commission, if this is an important area, to say, hey, Jeremy, please take a look at this, then he's directed to
Right.
start that, and it's
Hey, Molly.
not.
I propose that we make a recommendation that the planning office look at better protections for the streams around Springbrook,
I would say Springbrook.
For Spring-
Springbrook area. And so there's better expanding how much tree cover there is over.
I would just say
over-
better protections for the
protections?
stream
Okay.
Yep.
and the cold water fishery or something, protect the buffer.
So you're ready,
And possible, yeah.
can you say that again?
Where
I want to make a recommendation that CC.
the
Planning
Jeremy, the
staff.
planning staff.
Is it a motion
that
you want to make? I
CCC
mean,
Mhm.
ask- Yeah, I thought, is this
and
an official?
We
action?
second the motion or what? I mean,
Oh, yes, and I should check a second, once you make it.
I was making a motion
Yep.
that the Conservation Commission proposed that, ask Jeremy in the planning office to come up with a better code for protecting the streams in the Springbrook area with better tree coverage.
second
Or,
the motion.
conservation options or.
Yep,
Oh,
Something along that line.
set,
what's
Isn't
that?
it?
How to
Anyone
best
second it?
protect the
That's
natural
fine. Second.
resources.
All right.
or-
To protect,
Everyone-
sorry, to protect the streams around
Springbrook.
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 Okay.
That sounds great. All right, so Allison's going to send the streams to Rebecca and
And Barb.
Bob, right?
No, Allison's gonna contact Rebecca.
Did you guys all vote? Did I miss that?
Yeah, did we
Yes.
vote?
Unanimous.
We
Okay.
snuck it in.
Just.
Yeah.
Great. And yes, I'm gonna, to Barb and
Al and Rebecca.
Rebecca, I'm going to send my proposed list and map of streams worthy of consideration for greater
Excellent.
protection.
This has been very helpful. Thank you. All right. We
Okay.
good?
Yep, I'll work on that. I'll get that going.
And just because it sort of ties in, but not directly, but I just want to say, what I had been working on, and maybe it's too broad, but I've been working on areas of how we could strengthen our shoreline protection codes. And there's a lot you could do, but I've been focusing on one, the codes for building or renovating property in the shoreline zone, which is on the ocean, but mostly in our areas on the lakes. And that is to remove all exceptions for non-conforming structures. So especially on the lakes, most of the buildings that are on the lakes were built, a lot of them, a majority of them were built as like cabins or camps as being called them, that are turning into year-round homes. And a lot of them have non-conforming structures because they're really near the water. And the current state code, which is pretty loose, allows people to take a non-conforming building and expand it by a third. And I don't think there should be any expansion of non-conforming buildings, in my estimation. And this is also backed up by, I used a couple sources online where people have made recommendations of how to strengthen this. So, so you wouldn't be able to modify the footprint or the height. You could just repair building, put a new roof, a new door, or
Can you
whatever.
change the seasonality of it?
Meaning, like add a
Can you-
bathroom or something.
Can you winterize it?
You can.
Yeah.
Currently, you can.
Yeah.
There's no regulation on
Yeah.
on doing a
You just can't make
conversion.
it bigger
Well, but
or
the thing, a
higher.
lot of times, if you make it seasonal, you're gonna have a septic and all those things. That's
I'm
what
coming up
it's-
to that. The septic would have to have, well, if you're having a new septic or repairing, changing the septic because it failed or something, it has to have a higher level of, it needs to be like a
Capacity.
performance-based system, not just a general one where
like a
you
Fuji
have
dam
to,
or something like
excuse me?
that. Like a little treatment plant, like a little Fuji
Yeah.
or something like that.
And the other thing was to increase how much buffers they're allowed to have by there. And this is one of the things I was wondering if you could answer. Does Clint have any ability or have in the past been able to like have video evidence of what what Camden properties look like from the shoreline, let's say on McGonagall Lake or anything like
No,
that?
we don't have that.
Could it
um,
happen? Like, so we have
Sure,
historical
we would-
record?
We would love that.
I mean, we have
I've done
Don't we
this a
have a
lot.
boat that-
I've done this a lot in other communities in the past, and we used to do watershed surveys of the vegetation
that's what I'm talking about.
along the entire lakes that I used to work.
Could it be
on.
done with a
So-
drone?
What's that?
Well, we do
That
have
was
the
a
town
drone.
GIS, which is fairly good, but to be
Doesn't
better
show
from the,
yeah, it
But if
doesn't
there was
show
video
the-
evidence, then you could show that people,
Yeah.
this guy totally butchered this tree that used to.
oh, I sometimes actually just look at my own person, and every time I'm out there, I'm like, snap, 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 and then I can go back.
So,
But I think we have a couple avenues for that would be, the first of all,
Didn't we have a boat that was going in the harbor, in the, like the lakes that was.
Yeah.
so the Watershed Association has talked about doing this, but I think it could become part of the lake warden responsibilities to work with the code enforcement office or the,
It's just done once or twice a year.
or the, you know, the
something.
Conservation Commission could volunteer to do
lot.
it.
Once every 5 years or something, just
Something.
run
Just so that we could,
along the whole.
you could tell that like, oh my God, Allison just took all the branches off that tree. The tree's still there.
well,
but
you,
it's,
you
know,
can limit.
You could tell.
Bottom third.
Right, but like, let's say I hire a person to come in and evaluate my property, and there's that system you're supposed to use with the canopy and how much you can remove, and they mark out the trees you can remove because they've evaluated it. Now, the homeowner can go in and remove all those trees that after the evaluation was done, the ones that were okay to take away. But can they remove everything from the shoreline up to wherever they want, like all the small undergrowth, all the leaves, all of.
Yeah, it's like the first 25 feet, the undergrowth vegetation has to be maintained, and like DEP's struggled with that. They leave that word maintain, and that's not a good
Let
word.
me say it
Oh, yeah,
different.
I've been wanting to ask you that. I think
Let me
this-
say it
Maintained
different. Like,
means left as is, not maintained as in going.
I buy a piece of property on the lake. They say which trees I can remove. I remove those trees, but now I get rid of all of the brush, leaves, and undergrowth.
Can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't like rake
Natural.
everything bare
Nope,
right to the water.
That's what I thought.
That, you can't do that?
Nope.
What is that called when they do that?
natural vegetation.
Violation.
Duff.
I think it's just called natural vegetation.
It's
has to be
called duff.
maintained.
So you can't remove the leaf litter, right?
No, that
No.
tough litter is supposed to say that first 25 feet is a buffer.
From the
Except for-
water?
Except for a 6-foot wide
A meandering path.
That's the way I understood it.
Well, I had a house on a lake in Western Maine, and it's exactly the rules. You can have a meandering path, not a straight one. You have to leave the forest duff. That's what they call it.
Duff,
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm-
The layer of all the stuff.
Yeah, but
It's hard is like, we have
can't
gotten
rake it
calls,
clean.
we have gotten calls before and they're like, they removed this and you
Yeah.
go out and it's like, well, I don't see that.
Is there
Well, it was
any-
there last year and then you're
Right,
there
right.
this year. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. If
Is
we
there
have-
anything in the code somewhere that could be, one of the things would be just creating a little thing that helps everybody that is concerned. I'm like, if,
Yeah,
not a,
like
like
that
a
right
guide to
there.
reporting your neighbor for violating the shoreline zoning ordinance. But aside from that, is there, what about, what about like with the requirement, what seems to happen over time is, you get your approved trees that you can take down or whatever, and then another, you have a few left, and then one falls, and then, and nobody's sort of policing that over time, or then a new property owner comes in, and it's like, how can we
Actually-
create something that requires the maintenance of a certain, like your property has to have this much?
In this one, I was recommending that they said, was recommended by, I forget it here. If a tree fell down or limbs fell down, you're supposed to leave them unless they were like in the driveway or in a path.
That would be nice,
Because,
We-
they
we
deteriorate,
gotta-
become mushrooms and.
I hate to be a wet blanket,
I
but
know,
we've got a
but-
couple more things
Yeah,
we need
just
to do.
to answer Allison's questions, I mean, I will say, I don't know how far this goes back, but what we're doing now in our office is all vegetation removal. People call us every day.
You're right,
And we're saying we need to review everything.
right.
So we go out and we do a site visit and we look at the site, we take some photos. They say they want to remove this tree or that tree. We got a photo of the whole thing. And then we say, well, yeah, you can, like someone over on I don't remember what road she's on, but I just went out there the other day and 2 very large oak trees. One clearly a hazard tree. Another one, I was like, I don't think that's a hazard. She got 2 arborists came out. She paid 2 arborists to come out. And the second one I really like and I value him. And I've had him do tree work at my house. He says it's a hazard tree. It's a hazard tree. They have to actually, they're removing it, but they have to replant.
Yeah,
And so we're putting those memos into the file and notes into the file that, with a picture that says
right.
allowed to remove, must be replanted with
So it's
caliper sized
documented.
tree.
Yep.
So it's documented and they're providing us pictures after when they're planted.
You know what would be good
But-
is like a quick reference thing that what's okay to do in the shoreline zone.
Yeah.
More of like, instead of like how to report somebody maybe.
Well, there are guidelines, right?
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but
The
like
state
just a
used
quick,
to have a nice
thing, give
manual.
them a
Yeah, I had it.
just like, well, yeah, and put it on the website, like, here's what's okay to do in the shoreline zone.
Okay.
You know,
We
just
do have some-
just the basic stuff.
But we do want to make it that, now, but when it's these hazard trees on the water, I've been seeing a lot, they're usually a hazard of falling into the water,
Mhm.
which is
Not a problem.
not a problem and actually part of the environmental process that like the state is doing that on purpose now, bringing in logs and stuff.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I don't think we should, on the ocean, certainly, you shouldn't be allowing trees that are going to fall.
They're gonna fall.
They should be forced to stay because they actually provide buffering and habitat. And
Yeah.
how are you handling that? They shouldn't,
So
I
for
saw a
my-
lot of
I've
trees
gotten
removed in
into a
Sherman's
big-
Cove.
There's I don't know, they used to call them bulletin boards, right? Where you have code officers and planners from across the state are on this thing called Moose Chatter, and
Wow.
there's so much out there that we do every day that, everything's not, you read the law and you're like, what the hell's that mean? And you try to interpret it and you're like, how are you guys interpreting this? And then, so this conversation's come up about hazard trees and what defines a hazard tree. I'm the extreme on one end in the state of Maine, compared to the other extreme, which is.
It's near your
I've seen-
house?
well,
You can
no,
take it
it's
down.
on a trail. It's over a trail where people congregate. And
Oh, Jesus.
and they say that is a hazard tree. And I'm like, no, you don't congregate on a trail. You walk on a trail.
Right.
You don't congregate there. So
Yeah.
we are not allowing those trees.
But
We
why
will
are-
say those aren't hazards.
But how is it possible that the ones in Sherman's Cove have been taken down and completely removed? I've seen a bunch of
so
it,
that one
dead
is-
trees.
Yeah.
What happened in Sherman's Cove at the far
Yeah,
and
the
that-
Zeta property.
is a violation of so many different things. And it happened with full Camden oversight. I don't believe it was you.
Yeah, I'm not sure violation, but
Well, it violates everything you just said. There's
that
a
one was a
stream
tough
that,
one. I know I was at the tail end of that one. That one had a lot of the undercutting banks were severe undercutting banks. I mean, we're talking 5-6 feet of
no
banks
house,
undercutting.
no house,
No house, exactly.
which is insane. I mean, that is the way that beaches have been formed over
supposed to.
time.
Yes.
Erosion.
So they
It's
cut the trees
habitat-
down because
They
were.
Well,
built
cut the
a
trees
wall
down and
like
they built
Fort
the
Knox.
armored, which
They
is
did-
They didn't want to lease property line.
which is what
It's a
Dave,
lot of
which is
different
what Dave and I were
issues.
talking about earlier, the new rules that DEP adopted on these armoring. So they're going to say you really can't necessarily armor it that way anymore.
Right.
Because your house is not within 100 feet of that site.
Right.
And if you want the expedited,
But we could have already said no to that under different. Anyway, to be continued. But is there if you could recommend something that could be inserted into our code that would provide clarity about trees that are falling down into the water and, the removal of dead
Just make a
trees?
Policy, yeah. I'll just make a policy for the department. And that's what it is. So.
And
Good.
if you need the Conservation Commission to review it or whatever, let's try to get rid
Sounds
of that.
great.
We need more fallen trees, actually.
The thing is, what you guys should all know is Jeremy is like really so knowledgeable about the actual rules. And sometimes it's unfair for Jeremy to like personally, like you can make judgment calls, but I think have to try to, or you guys have to try to provide some guidance, like it's, if there's a lot Jeremy can figure out how to do, if you ask him how to achieve it, I guess is what. But it could be uncomfortable for town staff to propose certain things on their
Which
own
is why
sometimes.
Rebecca's working on the stream.
Right.
piece.
it's a lot easier when it comes from a committee.
Yeah.
But being, asking him to
Yeah.
do something.
Yep. Good point.
Doesn't mean what we're trying to do is wrong. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
really the right thing to do.
It's
Makes
process.
perfect sense.
It's the process.
But it
right?
shouldn't all be on you.
Yep.
It should be a, community policy.
Well, we work for the community.
Yeah.
The
Right.
community should be telling us what they want.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, for sure.
That's the way it kind of works.
All right. We got to get moving,
All right.
unfortunately.
Thank you
Thank
much.
you,
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Very much appreciate your
Yep,
time.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, I just want to cover this really quickly. The Arbor Day event in Augusta on the 23rd. That's the Friday after our Tuesday thing.
I would like to go if I can, but
Is anyone planning on going to that? I'm not sure I can make it.
It's such a great event. I can't go this year, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'll
We-
go.
we-
I'm gonna be in Boston.
we need to,
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh.
you've been, Kathleen.
I'll go, but I'm not a member of the committee, so.
Samantha, do you have something to share with the committee? Samantha Mortlock?
Oh, yeah. So another item on your agenda is going to be replacing me. I am moving with my family to California this summer.
Yep.
So I'd let Barb and Brian know, and I'm going to be very sorry to say goodbye to all of you. We will be back around in the summers anyway, but I just said I'll, keep serving until we leave if that's what you want. But if you have somebody to replace me, I'll step down at any time that suits the committee or the commission.
When are you
Oh,
leaving?
that's terrible.
Yeah, that's too bad. We'll miss you.
Sorry.
That is
But-
terrible.
Terrible for us,
Oh, Samantha.
good for
Sorry.
California.
I hope it's something good or.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for our family. My husband is based out of a New York office right now, and it's been really challenging with travel, especially because he had a major medical thing a year or two ago. And he's going to transfer to their LA office, which is actually where he started his career and where our children were born. So we're just going to give California another go, and the family's just up for an exciting adventure.
That's great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Samantha, you've
Good
been
for you.
so wonderful as a resident and as a committee member and as a,
Well,
you're
she
still going to
said-
have your house in Camden though? You're still going to have?
That's the idea for now. That's what we're planning to do.
So with
Okay.
that said,
Let's keep Samantha as long as we can and.
yeah, and then
But
we've,
we proposed that, I asked Kathleen if
Oh,
you
yeah,
consider
okay.
taking your spot in the rest of your term and taking over the tree application for the Arbor Day thing. Maybe you guys could work together.
Or we can do
That'd be
like
great.
alternates
Sam,
and.
if you, only if you, that works for you, Sam, 'cause-
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, the sooner someone takes over, the better, because I am just going to become more and more burdened by the overwhelm of trying to get this house ready to leave and figure out what to pack and manage our move. So I'm happy to stay engaged, but I can't be as engaged anyway. I'm just, one foot's out the door, to be honest.
so Kathleen, how do you feel about that?
great. I'm just super interested in trees. That's sort of,
I know. well, that-
I have
you'll
like
be the-
tunnel
you-
vision about it.
And that's
So, but I
okay.
find the other, I'm learning a lot.
And
So-
so after this meeting, you need to go to the office where Janice and Holly are and just fill out a form.
Okay, all right. No, great. No, I'd be
Just-
honored.
Yeah, and Kathleen, I'll shoot you an email. Why don't we get together for coffee or something, and
Okay,
we
that's
can,
great.
I can tell you,
All right.
what I've been doing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great.
I'd
Okay,
appreciate it.
thanks.
We're not going to do like formal appointments right away on the select board.
Does it
just so you know.
have to do that anyway?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying, it's, we can't, sometimes committees just like change all the time and then it's like, get this on the agenda. We're going to do more of a, like
I
every,
thought it was every June.
yes, or July after the new select board or whatever, or,
Whatever, okay. Well,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
does it then
no,
next
you
time.
definitely should do it. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. It's not going to be on the agenda next
Yeah,
time
no,
and stuff like
same
that.
thing happened
That's
with me.
fine,
It
that's
took months, but I mean,
Yeah.
but
So I'll go to the Arbor Day one. The one
Oh,
in
good.
Augusta.
Yeah, it
all
really
right,
is. It was
so
really
we
nice.
need to
Does
get back
anybody
to
else
that
wants to go?
Jan Setri or whatever her name is by Friday, I think, this week.
This Friday?
Santera, whatever her name is.
Jan Santerre.
Oh, shoot.
Santera, good.
I had a
Jan.
great time when I went last time, but
Well, I may be able
Because
to
of the
go, but
weather
I'm
and
just not sure.
my obligations.
I'm gonna send you
The stuff.
the stuff.
Okay, great.
And then if it's
Well, maybe
only
we can send a
you,
list about of like a potential group.
well, I'm gonna send, I'll send the, Samantha sent it to me, actually, sent it to us. The invitation from the Maine Department of Conservation, blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to need
Arbor
to
Arbor
go.
Day invitation from the Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry. I have it right here. I'll send it
Okay.
I'll send it around again, right?
Great.
Okay.
I'm just saying, the last time we went, we were unprepared because all the other towns like made a little poster.
We made a poster.
Oh, yeah, Allison made a poster at the last minute. Well, we didn't know that we were supposed to, and
Oh, don't we have to give them,
We have a poster. I'm looking at it right here.
Exactly. Thank you.
we give them the information, she makes the poster.
oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
have to give photos to them and.
I did do it at the last minute, but it did turn out in a very respectable way, I think.
So,
But that'll be a great thing for Kathleen to take.
Oh,
You
do I have to
obviously-
do that?
No, I don't.
you know, like this kind of stuff, you could put like any
Okay, yeah.
photos
It's
of.
like a montage of.
So I'm going to need to go. It just
That'll be
Tuesday,
the
it's
Mechanic
early
Street.
release. I forgot.
You what?
Okay, so the last thing on the agenda was gonna be the thing that was for her, so she.
Well, it's
I
for
know.
all of us, right?
Right.
The business about the Sagamore Farm letter to the,
I know, but I'm feeling actually like I, in some ways, regret bringing this to the Conservation Commission, but I mean that in a nice way. But like, because really trying to make it go forward fast. I've had a lot of conversations about this over the, and I've done a lot of research now into the past of the Sagamore Farm situation. And I do think that what the Conservation Commission brought up about the environmental benefit of there is no environmental benefit of the buyout. There, and the funding source that I kind of proposed off the cuff was done mostly not fully remembering how close the ash borer, or not aware of how close the ash borer is. And I think what's happened has driven that home, and that now, which is why I'm asking you to send the select board the email, the letter reminding us of the expense of all of that. And but in reviewing the last time that solar was installed at Sagamore, the Conservation Commission was involved in endorsing that. And for a number of years, I was the liaison to the watershed school climate and sustainability class that would do this report to the town every year about things that we should improve. And really what the goal has always been to expand the solar farm. And in 2019, the town commissioned another study to evaluate all the town properties and what the potential is for solar there. There was a lot of pressure to move forward with more solar, and a resistance on the select board level at the time, feeling like we hadn't fully vetted what some of the other possibilities were for some of these properties. But it was very, very clear that Sagamore Farm, taking just the already cleared area where their rate exists, should be expanded. And in talking to a couple people that were really involved, and I was sort of saying, well, what's so important about the buyout as opposed to the goals of expansion? And what I was told was that it was perceived to be politically infeasible to go for the goal of the full, to ask the select board right away to move forward with expansion. And I don't think that's the case. One of the things that was so appealing about the power purchase agreement that we currently have is that the town didn't have to put any money toward that. It just happened. And so in speaking with Audra and others, some of the unanswered questions would be, if we were to just do the buyout separately, then are we giving up the opportunity to really, can the buyout be combined with a larger expansion? It's not great for the town to be in a situation where we own a little part of the solar farm over here, but the other part is owned by somebody else. The responsibility of mowing it, of making sure it works properly, of answering public questions about how it's all working. The power purchase agreement is going very well for us because the town literally does nothing and there's an environmental benefit.
But if you buy it out at this point, in 7 years, it's paid for, and then you have the rest of its life in which you're earning $29,000 a year or $30,000 a year. It's all outlined. Well,
I
first
know
of all, that point was made in this.
I understand all that, but what I'm saying to everybody is that I think we need to recommend it's missing the forest for the trees a little bit, because the goal should be expansion. And what we would like to do, I think, or what would be very, very easy to accomplish with no money in the town's part, is just to ask revision, could we do, what does an expansion look like? A new power purchase agreement,
I think they're not offering those power purchase agreements anymore. That's what my understanding is, that's something that's going away.
So if the position of everybody is that we no longer want, so if I'm the only one pushing for an expansion.
No, the expansion's still a good idea. It's just that you'd be doing it, owning it. The town.
So if we can get a definitive answer that it is no longer possible to do one of these without having to invest upfront on our own.
I think though, Allison.
I think that the town having a new
Yeah.
fully commissioned energy committee is which is what I've seen rumblings of, is a big mistake because we have Camden Can, and that is wonderful. What I was hoping for, or I thought it would be very easy, is for just this other groups that are already doing a great job studying these things
Mhm.
to be able to come up with reports or recommendations that would not take a bunch of Conservation Commission time,
Right.
but just to be able to read over and say, oh yeah, this looks good, stamp of approval, send it on to the select board.
Okay, that's happening now. I mean, there's
Okay.
an
That's
ad hoc
what-
committee that's been put together that,
That's what we did, right?
no, but this is separate. So we
So-
have a draft memo right now that just speaks to the sort of like logic of buying out the existing lease. and that
Recommends.
recommending
Yeah.
that what
So-
town be doing is moving toward being totally solar the way Belfast is.
So what's the subcommittee?
Well, we have a study from 2019 that says how we would move toward being totally
Yeah.
solar. And it says that we would, and this is why the town tried to buy a property somewhere else, because you can't get to 2 megawatts or whatever it is that we need with town property.
Well, yeah, we can. You can fit it on Sagamore Farm property. Okay, so there's
I'm just saying, I don't think we're ready for a letter to the select board right now on if one of the questions is going to be from town staff, are we what are the options for expanding? Is there any logic to rolling in the buyout with a larger agreement for expansion? Is there any drawback to doing the buyout now and not somehow combining that with a larger
well, because the
expansion?
now is by June 15th, according to the deadline for the annual
And so, yeah, then
renewal
all
of
the-
the PPA.
I just don't understand how we get involved in
Well,
that.
because the point was the funding, I created this problem by suggesting the funding source as this tree penalty fund, thinking that I was going to have time, there was going to be time before the ash borer to be able to find other funding sources for that purpose. I think that was a mistake,
Yeah, okay.
and that the Conservation Commission helped me realize that.
Good.
And that the options for a buyout would be now coming up with another funding source that includes borrowing, or so we now need more than a select board vote to do that. We have two options. It could have gone in the budget, or it could be a special town meeting, which is the way that we did things when we did the solar farm to begin with. But also it's, I think, important for everybody to understand that some of the reasoning that goes into a town's decision to buy out is not the same as a homeowner, because there is a little bit of reluctance because we don't have any solar experts on staff. We don't know exactly, nothing has been budgeted for maintenance, and we don't actually know what maintenance is involved, certainly mowing. So,
A lot of these things are being answered by this committee that has been formed
Camden
because,
can.
Who's
well, Camden can and a few other people,
which is
including me.
all,
But it's
which
not
was
the
requested
Conservation
by-
Commission.
Right.
Okay,
So the question, I think the question we were going to address today was something about whether we could have a subcommittee here, but
oh, perfect.
his feeling that we are definitely have enough priorities already.
yeah,
So I was going to say, is it okay if I just serve
Yeah.
on this ad hoc community committee,
Oh,
which
perfect.
has been asked by some questions through Esperanza via Jeremy and Audra, and
well,
like a
we're
number
all
of people.
volunteers, right?
they're
I
already
mean, we can-
talking about this.
Because we're going to need I think part of it comes with the Conservation Commission having brought up some questions, and then.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's perfect.
So
I was.
you don't really actually need our memo that we did
Well,
in answer
you
your
put the work
original
into it, but
questions.
it's useful for you for your subcommittee, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was nervous that I was going to leave and you guys were going to approve a letter to the select board today, but I think that is really
no,
perfect.
we
It's taking
actually-
advantage of the resources in our community.
This seems like a perfect solution.
Perfect.
And you know what, Allison? It's all about learning, right? And learning is about, you know, you go this direction, then you go that direction, because you learn, hey, get some new information. We're all here to help each other, and it's no big deal if you learn some new stuff as a result of talking to us, and that's fine. It's great. We really appreciate your support and all of your experience, and
I don't
it's
know
great.
if this helps, but adding to this whole thing is like, what is the cost of this emerald ash borer? And when I was talking, I just thought of this after.
Yeah,
I need like the total count of ash trees we have.
well, there's,
That's the letter Brian's going to start working on.
yeah, and I need to talk to the
We
tree
have
guy,
that
because
in
it's
the
a whole
Louisa's
different,
data.
And the DBH.
you know, Dave, there's a whole different strategy on this too,
Yeah.
which is to not treat every single tree.
Hold on, can we just, because I have to go and pick up
Yeah.
Colton, can we just
Hey,
get back?
thanks,
the-
Allison.
Can we just-
Finish this thought too.
The,
Yeah, we're over time.
so,
You-
but
you and I
the
should
basic,
talk.
yeah, the basic concept of, I'm really happy that you guys are willing to do this, because I know the Conservation Commission can't take on everything, but it is greatly beneficial to the select board when it can go through, because the select board doesn't always agree on everything, or, so we don't want things to come to us all the time that don't have broad consensus among everybody that might be interested. So the idea that Cynthia goes and works as a liaison to the community energy, advisory
Right.
group that has formed, and then brings a recommendation or language to the Conservation Commission, having it go through you guys to say, yeah, we read through this and this all makes sense, and like having that as a sort of structural concept, I think would be very beneficial, and if you guys can endorse that.
So what I do with this community committee needs to go through Conservation Commission?
That would be the most useful,
Smartest way to go.
yes, that's what I'm,
So in order for them to send.
yeah,
Okay,
because
what if I'm just on it as not a Conservation Commission person?
You don't
I
have
don't
to.
know.
You don't have to
Cynthia,
be.
the purpose of it is that the last time, it's a land use planning issue.
Yeah,
The use of Sagamore Farm for anything is a land use planning issue. The Conservation Commission was involved before. It is also just enormously, there's a lot of work that goes into town communication with committees. And so trying to keep everybody on the same page about things is very difficult. And we're basically asking that the committee does, the existing committees do some of that work. And so not having,
so we don't have the time on the agenda to.
it'll be
address
when
it.
you guys are all done, when you
Okay.
guys think you've got it, you know what needs to happen, right? And bring it
And we'll agree.
to the Conservation Commission so that it can be a joint recommendation. It's the Conservation Commission endorsing that this is a worthy thing for the community to be working on, and it's something that they'll be willing to put their
Okay,
name on.
but that can't happen before the annual deadline for renewal of the PPA, and that's important to the
Yes, it
people that
can.
are involved.
Sure
So,
it can.
Sure it
no,
can.
because it's June 15th.
I know, but we could, but we can.
I
have-
mean,
we can
Cynthia,
have a
this is why I
discussion.
tried to call you, and
But we can
Well,
just make, we can have a
This has all
discussion.
happened in the last couple.
I know I talked to Esperanza for like 2 hours an hour on the phone. And then I talked to both Jeremy and Audra, and then I tried to communicate that back. And then I wrote something to the Conservation Commission, and then I dug up all the old studies and I sent those. And
Can't you just communicate on email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
We're all pretty good, except for
Okay.
Stephen,
Yeah.
but.
we're
But I
all-
would
Yeah.
just, what we don't have is a financial advisor committee, and the budget committee, I'm sorry to say, but if this is mostly a budget concern, that's what it sounds like. It's a budget concern.
Right.
And that would have been an excellent thing to bring up with the budget committee. We do have a budget committee that looks at all of these
And it
things.
just finished their work.
And so that it was a Camden Can coming up with a strictly budget recommendation and not beginning any of that advocacy work until after the budget committee finished their recommendations is politically impossible for us.
Mhm.
So what they are making is not an energy environmental argument. They're making a budget recommendation to the town about their advice on how the town could save money. And there we have a committee for that. So
They meet next March.
And that's why I think there could be, it's helpful when some of these groups do correspond with some of the town committees, because then they can be given that advice about where we are in the town decision-making process. All conflicts around this issue have always revolved around a request from an outside group to do something usually the select board doesn't have the power to do. That's how we got in an argument about it before, was it was needing to go through this town meeting form of government, and it was perceived as obstructionist, like the town was trying to stop something, but really it was just,
Right.
I think that Camden Can has been making the case.
But they didn't bring it to the budget
Oh,
committee.
they haven't.
It was never
yeah.
brought to the budget committee. It wasn't brought up until after the budget committee was meeting.
There was a program that Camden Can gave, which about what other towns were doing with solar. And they had a lot of economic support for what they were saving.
I know, but it wasn't brought to the budget committee. The budget committee
Right.
started meeting in late February and ran.
It's just
through
the
the-
buyout part of it.
So,
There's,
so that opportunity was missed this last
There's
year.
two pieces, there's the buyout and the expansion. And I think she's saying.
I just don't understand why
the
nobody cares about the
negotiation for the
expansion.
buyout part is already kind of, that's a money thing. But what they're looking for is like a recommendation on why the expansion is important to wrap into it.
Right, and most people agree with that's important. It's just the timing is really
I'm
bad.
also letting you guys know that there's a huge opportunity now, if we try to the bigger opportunity before Tom gets off of the select board, okay? You're gonna miss there's a golden opportunity where the select board would move forward with with an expansion, which has always been the golden goal. I've been listening to the advocacy for years and years, seeing it not happen. We have a moment where that would be supported. I understand that the
So this committee has come up with a recommendation
I
to
know, well,
expand.
okay, then just share it with us via email. We'll all
Okay.
say yes,
It can all
yay,
happen.
nay.
It can
and
all
we'll give it to
happen.
the select
But
board.
why don't you and I talk, I'm
Let's
just
still do
saying,
it. There's
the
another
Conservation Commission carries a lot of
I think
weight.
expansion is so important.
Yeah, I get
Is
it,
that-
totally. It's a process.
No,
The
expansion's
process,
important.
there's a process in place to do it, and it works.
And I was saying to you that, well, the
But-
budget committee is.
But
is
I don't
down,
think
and
any
you
of us really understood that. And now I think we do.
I
it
did, but
just
I didn't
came
realize
up in
what it was
what
going
Yes,
on.
right.
until after the fact.
This is
I
part of a
think
learning
it wasn't
curve.
really going to happen this year, and then I was like, oh, made this whole plea about thinking we had this funds that weren't really going to be necessarily
Right.
needed.
Yep.
And it got some people excited because it was like the town was finally saying yes, but then you guys brought me back to reality that those funds aren't available in the same way that I was.
Yep.
It's all really quite a positive thing because it's made us think about the ash borer, and
Absolutely. It's the way it works.
so hopefully we can come up with an aggressive recommendation from the Energy Committee.
The Camden Can group and share it with us.
Yeah, it's not a committee,
You can write a
right?
letter. to
I mean,
the
it's
select- we'll share
really
it.
frustrating. We're getting hammered with these emails from these Camden Can newsletters, which are out, it's just like, acting like we're just a bunch of idiots. And I don't really care for it. When you send out a newsletter to, I'm probably saying more than I really want to say on the thing, but it's like people that are just like, do the right thing for the town, do the solar buyout. Like,
I know,
it's frustrating to me because
I know.
it's just like,
Well, they encouraged you to
Really-
do, they encourage all the people who read the newsletter to do
Well,
that. And I was
it
thinking, that's
put-
not
it
gonna
puts-
go very well.
It puts pressure on the system, but it's somewhat naive because it's independent of what process the system actually has to go through to get things done. And it's like, you have to represent all the taxpayers in the town, right? I mean, it's more than just a slam dunk to get things done, right?
yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
been confusing because for years, the push was an expansion.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, that has kind of been abandoned in favor of pushing for the buyout. And, I'm trying my best to make that
Well-
work, but there's also this moment in time where I heard what Tom Hedstrom said, he was really knowledgeable, and he said, well, they should really be doing an expansion. And I was like, oh, wow, we've got this person
Well-
on the board. You got to seize the moment. And he would be here for we don't know who will be on the board after that, but there's,
Right.
1-2 meetings.
it's like, oh my gosh, I'm remembering all the things that all those people said over the years, wanting to expand, and let's try to do it. And
I think,
Allison, would the budget committee think they had anything to do with energy, that energy is connected with
This has
money?
nothing to do with it. What's being advocated for has nothing to do with energy. It only has to do with financial planning. So Camden Can has gotten really involved in advising on financial planning. And I'm not sure that's where they'd want to use all of their political capital because I'm not doubting it might be the very best thing to do. It just process-wise, it's just like, shoot, we
I think
don't.
they feel like it's like the practical way to approach the select board because they feel like that's what your
I know they just,
concern is mainly about the town's finances. And so that they're
No.
thinking that's the best way to appeal to you, maybe? I don't know.
I think it's being done with a strategy that would be sometimes perfect and sometimes not the perfect strategy.
Hmm.
And that what we really want from those groups is usually like the leadership on the higher environmental goal. And everybody just went through a grueling budget committee. It actually wasn't as bad as it often is, but when you all sit around, it's hours, 20
Yeah.
hours. I had to listen and not speak for 20 hours of budget committee meetings and then comment afterwards. Everybody goes through this big, long thing. And so, and the budget committee this year was throwing money. They were very open to funding proposals. And now after it comes to this, so you get the town manager presents the budget committee makes all their comments. Then it comes to the select board. And the select board is not in the business of usually adding money to the budget after that whole project.
They're usually slashing it
Y-
a little bit.
Usually
cutting back a little.
it's going to be hard because then it goes to the voters. It says budget committee recommends, select board recommends.
Right.
And it's having our number be much higher. It looks like we ignored the budget committee recommendations and
Yeah,
added a bunch
I
of money
get
to
it.
the budget. So what we need, I bet you $100 that if somebody had come to the budget committee meetings and done this whole pitch, it would have been in the budget and
Wow.
that's why it's important to coordinate.
I wonder why there's such a disconnect
started-
between what they.
Because town
understand.
government is really archaic. Our system of town government is very inflexible and it's much less flexible than like a Rockland City Council or we've decided to tie our hands behind our back. And the general public, if you're not really involved with it, you aren't going to be aware of that whole thing. We've done it to ourselves and it's not a good thing. So it's understandable that there is that disconnect because we do have a crazy system and you only know.
No, I meant like between Camden Can's perception of how they have,
I tried to tell
how they
Esperanza.
could.
I was on the budget committee, and I think it do go on the budget committee.
You know
No,
what,
I
right
didn't
now
want
would
to
be the
be
time.
on the budget committee,
I
but
know,
I don't
but-
think that anybody on Camden Can recognized that they could just go to the budget committee and suggest this. I mean,
not?
why didn't you, she's Camden Can, why didn't Camden Can do that?
Nobody assumed that you could.
I
They-
always,
The
I always
budget
say this,
committee
the
takes
magic
that.
recipe to get anything done in town is you gotta, whatever your cause is, you gotta start going to the budget committee meetings in the beginning and making your case.
Okay.
Because that's where it gets added into the budget and then it happens. Everybody wants to
Huh.
do something after the budget's done.
We had to
And
beg
that's the
people
wrong
to be
time
on the
do it,
budget
'cause
committee.
there's no
It's
money.
more than that.
Well, no,
I had
it's a
to-
different thing
Can
to be
do
on the
something.
budget committee versus to approach the budget committee with
Also, to
ideas.
keep in mind, the budget committee is very poorly named, and that's one of our biggest problems in town. The budget committee is not a budget, but it's really just a prioritizing town services. You do not have to have any high finance skills or anything. It's every year, we're like, please, that's how I got involved in town government. Somebody begged me to be on the budget committee just to meet the quota.
Yeah.
But getting people, that's how priorities get determined. And so
Wow.
getting on the budget committee, finding people to put in applications for the budget committee, because they all talk about the budget before the select board even gets to talk about it. I hate the process. I don't care for it, but I do know how to,
You have to go pick up.
I do. Yeah, he just
Sorry,
kind of,
so I'll just add this one thing that kind of.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make a motion, we adjourn the meeting, second the motion. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
So there was a group